There are exactly three things that you can set your clock by in life: death, taxes, and a fourth quarter collapse from the Toronto Raptors. It's not really much of a collapse when you pretty much trail the entire game. The Raptors were favored to win this game pretty much by any betting odds site. 4-1 favorites going into this, even without Scottie Barnes, even without Gary Trent Jr., because everyone knows one thing: it's that Tyrese Halliburton is a hell of a player. And it was somewhat ironic that this Raptor fan base, amidst this season that has been so challenging at times, so much stop and go, that we had the pleasure of having Alvin Williams tell us on television that, yes, in fact, Fred VanVleet is like Tyrese Halliburton. He is not. He is not. And don't say it ever again. It's almost like you'd be closer saying Andrew Nembhard is like Tyrese Halliburton. This was a revenge tour for the Indiana Pacers. A lot of coulda, woulda, shouldas came back to bite the Raptors in the butt. If you think about it, right? O'Shea Brissett. Oh, poor Jakob, man. I like Jakob a lot. That dunk was nasty. Well worth the technical, by the way. Shook. This is a team that has gone in without Tyrese Halliburton into the Golden State Warriors arena and whooped them in the fourth quarter. Andrew Nembhard was big that game too. I've been watching this guy, and I gotta tell you, Gonzaga, you guys have a trash record for producing a lot of busts at the top of the lottery, but at the top of the second round, you found yourself a steal. The Indiana Pacers, they played two rookies, and those two rookies, they made some mistakes, as rookies do. What excuse do the Raptors have, man? You're not playing your rookies right now. Christian Koloko barely got run. I think he was great. I think he was good. I think he tried, mask and all. But what do you do when your leader keeps falling over his own feet, trying to dribble the basketball, screwing up 4-on-5 fast breaks, 3-on-5 fast breaks, killing the advantage, killing the flow of the game? I get that it's challenging to win a game without Gary Trent Jr. and Precious Achiuwa and Scottie Barnes. I get that. But I hope you guys can see a little bit of what Scottie has been saving you from to some extent with the playmaking. This was abysmal. Let me be honest. It was pretty trash, right? Numbers, oh my God. People are going to look at these numbers. Let's look at the numbers. Because, at first glance, you're going to say Fred, Pascal showed up. Everybody else, they struggled. OG struggled with the shot, no doubt. No doubt. Jakob was a beast. All right. But I want you to really look at these numbers. Right? Pascal Siakam was a very efficient night. I don't feel like he was very impactful. I don't think he had a bad game. I don't think he had a great game. It was just kind of there. It was there. The defense, loved that nice block in the fourth quarter. Need a little bit more of that, but I don't really feel him tonight. I felt Jakob Poeltl, though, for sure. His presence on defense, on the glass, was great. But he got exposed too down the stretch in the fourth quarter. This was the big worry. Clutch free throws. Can you keep him on the court? And he's been good so far in terms of making free throws, but tonight that cost you, man. And it was always, the numbers were always going to balance themselves out. Fred VanVleet, 7 for 22, man. Oh my God. Forget the 7 for 22 and forget the 11 assists, forget the -9, forget the 28 points. I'm talking just sucking the air out of the building with the basketball, man. Over and over, the point of attack defense, the late reaches, my God. And all of this insult to injury, having to listen to Alvin Williams tell me he's like Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton, one of my favorite players in the NBA. So that's just cap. That's shade. That's craziness. It's crazy talk. Okay. Now, speaking of a good thing, I think Chris Boucher, despite the shooting percentage, I think he crashed the ball hard. I think he crashed the glass hard. Too much complaining for my taste. Too much complaining, too much diving out of bounds, too much getting knocked off balance, not making it back in the play. This has been a consistent problem for the Raptors. And the other team is not you. They don't need 6, 7 seconds, to milk a 4-on-5 fast break. Most teams can do this. Most high school teams know how to milk a 4-on-5 fast break. And you're a hockey fan, this is a power play. It's a power play, right? And if you fall out of bounds and you fall over your teammate and you knock your own teammate out, like, the Raptors have to learn how to make shots on balance. Now, some positives. Malachi Flynn, incredible, man. Like, stage presence, poise, to not play for this long. I don't want to hear anything about the bench tonight. The bench was pretty much a positive. It's your starters that really tanked you, to be honest. That unit with Pascal on the bench, they did well. Christian Koloko, he contested, he rebounded, he did what you needed him to do. Not Andrew Nembhard. They went 2 picks apart, but you felt it. You felt his presence in there. Malachi Flynn, again, stage presence, man. He got the lion's share of the backup minutes in the second half. I think he was just really good. It was hard to imagine him coming off the floor. He was stretching the floor. He was quick with the basketball, a little bit quicker than, the guy that he was replacing. And let's talk about Will Barton, man. 0 for 5 from 3. I don't care. Take shots, make shots. You're a gunner. You're 38% 3-point shooter. You're brought in to take those shots, make those shots. So, by all means, if you're not taking those shots, then what the hell are you doing? But at some point, we got to look at the percentages, because the percentages are sad. Like, no cap, Will Barton, since coming to the Raptors, is in the running for the worst player in the NBA. That's actually playing minutes. Worst at all. Like, I can't think of another player who's worse than him in the entire NBA, including the guy you waived to get him, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. He has been worse. So, was I throwing shade when I said I don't think he's a solution? No, this is exactly it. And that's the crazy part. I'm just talking offense. We're not even talking how bad he is on defense. Nick Nurse, you need to stop playing this guy. I get it. You trust him. He's a vet. He's older. He's got experience. Whatever. His best days are 4 years in the rear view, man. You want experience? Go freaking sign Vince Carter. He's a better player right now than Will Barton. Is that cap? Is that crazy? No, probably not, because he's probably still a better athlete. It's difficult to watch this, right? At times it's difficult to watch this. You lose to a team at home. They're missing their best player. They're behind you in the standings. They're chasing you. You need to fend them off. You're not out of the woods. You still got some very tough games. You need some teams later in the season to do you some favors. Okay? You need some teams to do you some favors. You need the Boston Celtics, the Milwaukee Bucks. You need them to sit their starters at the end of the season for you to have those games. I'm listening to Matt Devlin say, "Oh, the Detroit Pistons are coming to town. They have the worst record in the league. Those games are tough." What does that mean? I'm sorry. What is going on here? Call-in link is in the description. Feel free to call in and vent if you got something to say. We can talk about it. Got 72, 74 comments. I don't know. I'm just going to look at the Indiana Pacers. I'm a very big fan of this team. Rick Carlisle, sneaky top 5, top 10 coach in the NBA. There aren't really any bad coaches in the NBA. That's the crazy part. They're like all the new ones, Will Hardy, like these guys are really good. There's a lot of good coaches in the NBA. And Rick Carlisle is an OG. He's like the original good coach. I mean, with the Dallas Mavericks, with the Detroit Pistons, I've loved him at every single stint. And he may rub some players the wrong way, but I think he is just a brilliant dude. And he's got this Indiana Pacers team playing so well. And they've got rookies starting. 2 rookies starting. They're starting O'Shea Brissett. Just look at the lineup, man. You got a rookie, a second rounder, O'Shea Brissett, Miles Turner, and Buddy Hield. That's the team you just lost to at home. Oh, and don't worry, they're not pulling anyone like crazy off the bench. That's TJ McConnell. Okay, Aaron Nesmith, Isaiah Jackson. If you don't follow the NBA super close, you might have heard of 3 players on the Indiana Pacers. I love how this team plays. You know why? Because even though they got a lot of rookies, this team plays together. They play for each other. They play the right way. Yeah, they got some gunners. Okay, Andrew Nembhard is going to take some shots that you're like, I don't know. Ben Mathurin, every night, he's going to take some shots and be like, oh my God, I don't know. Don't dribble the ball so much. These guys are rookies and they're learning. And they are led by the most selfless superstar in the NBA outside of Nikola Jokic in Tyrese Halliburton. When Alvin Williams compares Fred VanVleet to Tyrese Halliburton is literally everything Fred VanVleet is not. And these are flip players. Flip players. You're talking about a guy who shoots 40% from three versus a guy who shoots 33% from three. You're talking about a long, agile, quick guy versus a slow, lumbering guy with negative wingspan. You're talking about a guy on his rookie contract. You're talking about a guy gunning for a max. You're talking about the most selfless player that you could watch play basketball, who has vision for days and eyes behind the back of his head, versus a guy who honestly sometimes misses an open roller who's right in front of him. What are we talking about? What are you talking about? They're both they're both good players. They're both really good players, but they're not comparable. Don't ever compare them. And if you want to be taken seriously in any basketball discussion, don't you ever compare them either. That's crazy talk. What the hell? I spent 2 days doing like what I considered like fairly neutral, positive analytics deep dives, right, for this team, and I really enjoyed it. But tonight just brought me right back to, no, what are we doing here? I understand that Gary's out. I understand that Scottie's out. I understand Gary's out. Precious is out. That's like 35 shots, 30 shots, whatever. But they can't just be divvied up between 2-3 guys. They need to be spread around. You don't have anyone who warrants that level of usage. And honestly, Pascal had it going tonight. Fine. Give it to him. Give it to him. He had a positive matchup. The Pacers played him straight up. Who was guarding him? Andrew Nembhard, a rookie point guard, has your all-star forward on the block one-on-one, and the Pacers don't send help. Yes, he should beast. They made a calculated decision that Pascal Siakam was not going to beat them tonight. And honestly, the Raptors made a calculated decision that they weren't going to let it happen anyway. Because Fred VanVleet is just, TJ McConnell is a hell of a, pesky defender. And he gave him all sorts of trouble. 7 for 22 is honestly, it's not even the point. That's not even the point. I don't care. I don't care that he went 7 for 22. It's the shots that he took. It's when he took them. It's how much he sucked out of his team, how much he got other guys out of rhythm, how much he missed open, streaking guys in transition. This is not someone who can run an NBA offense, no matter how much he tells himself he can, no matter how much that Jakob and Fred pick and roll has been super unstoppable. Yes, it is a very simple play, okay? Jakob Poeltl is an incredible screener, and Fred VanVleet is a very good to reasonable shooter. It is a matchup, there are tons of teams that can do this. But guess what? There are also tons of teams that can stop this, and they will stop it. You hear me now, quote me, tell me I'm wrong later, but they will stop this. It's not as unstoppable as you think it is. Teams know how to stop this type of play, and you become too predictable. You become way too, because this is the play that's letting Fred eat, right? Assists to Jakob, shots for him, right? But at some point, you need to become less predictable with your offense. The Pacers, honestly, they weren't very predictable, right? They had movement, motion. This is one of the more dynamic offenses in the NBA. I know that sounds crazy to say. It's a lottery team, yes, but they are a lottery team. They may be a play-in team. Who knows? But for much of the season, they have spent time dabbling as a play-in team or even a sneaky playoff team. And with Tyrese Halliburton, they're pretty good. And without him, apparently, they're good enough to go on the road and beat the Golden State Warriors and the Toronto Raptors. The Golden State Warriors had Steph Curry in that game, by the way. I believe they also had Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. I can't remember if they had Draymond Green, but I remember that they had Steph Curry, and he was very frustrated because Andrew Nembhard in that game against Steph Curry was better than Steph Curry that night. And tonight, he was way better than Fred VanVleet. Looking at the team stats very quickly, we have no callers lined up. Does the link work, guys? Or is everyone just quietly trying to absorb the contemplative silence of this? The Raptors, again, win the shot differential margin by 12 and, proceed to somehow make fewer field goals. They let the Pacers shoot 56% from the field, 52.5% from three, you're not going to win games. I mean, I'm surprised it was as close as it was playing that way. And honestly, I think that had a lot to do with rebounding, frankly, right? The offensive rebounding for the Raptors, 13-8, that margin kind of kept them in it. And obviously all the steals that they racked up. But look, it's a team that plays together. Despite starting two rookies, they out-assist you by 5. And look, the Raptors win the turnover battle by 8, but still lose. And again, some of these metrics are scary just to look at it. And you're like, how is your defense so bad? Even with Jakob Poeltl kind of clogging up the paint, cleaning up the back end of your defense, you're still not able to stop this. And I think that that's, I don't know, man. I'm feeling a little exasperated by this, but let's bring on SGE. SGE, what's going on?
What's good, man? How are you?
I've had better days, man.
This Fred game is actually worse than it seems. He went to the line 12 times, so that was a light whistle. So if let's say he doesn't get that many foul calls, what's his field goal percent looking like?
Field goal percentage is still the same, 7 for 22, still 7 for 22. It just looks a lot worse because he'd have like 14 or is like 16, 17 points on 22 shots.
But when you miss, when they blow the whistle for a free throw, it negates the shot.
No.
Right?
Oh, yes, true.
So,
true.
like he went 12 times. So let's say he goes 6 times. That's
Yeah.
like 7 for 28. Like,
Jesus Christ.
it's worse than and I watched Fred play. There were times where Malachi was open on 3 so many times and he chooses not to pass to him.
And that's his boy. That's Red VanVleet. They called Malachi Flynn Red VanVleet and couldn't even pass him the ball.
I can't get past. He's very selective with his passing, and he doesn't like to pass to his his counterparts in the like the point guard position. I think, and we spoke about him being super calculated. You were the one who actually put me on to him being so calculated, actually, and I was really watching to see is he metagaming kind of a future contract situation? He's trying to create a scenario where the Raptors have no choice but to pay him.
That's exactly it. And, that's, oh, man, it when I hear someone say this, like, let's say I heard someone say this about a team that I'm not really close to following, and they're like, oh, man, like, Ben Mathurin is really, scheming out his position, and he's trying to, like, sabotage all the guys underneath him. Shit, like, people around the game, people around the NBA, they know this stuff happens all the time. This is not specific to the Raptors. It happens literally all the time. Play kumbaya with the media. We all talk like, oh yeah, this guy's my teammate, I'm rooting for him. You're not, because honestly, this is a business, and someone comes at your position. I mean, Fred VanVleet's not stupid. The Raptors drafted a point guard. Okay, consider this. In 2021, in 2020, the Raptors drafted a point guard. Okay, in the second round, they drafted a point guard. Wait, hold on. No. In the first round, they drafted a point guard, was Malachi Flynn. I don't remember who they drafted in the second round, if they drafted anyone, or was that DeJuan Hernandez? I don't remember. The next year, 4th overall, they drafted a point guard in Scottie Barnes. In the second round, they drafted 2 point guards in David Johnson and Delano Banton. That's 4 freaking point guards that came in that are all bigger than you, right? And I mean, you're looking at this and you're like, oh my God. And now you're like, okay, Fred, go mentor these guys. And he's not stupid. He usurped guys ahead of him. He knows what's coming, because here's the thing. I once found out that, there's a thing about psychology. When you do things to people, you somehow subconsciously feel that other people are going to do it to you too, right?
Yeah.
So if you lie to people, if you cheat on people, if you screw people out of money, you're always going to be paranoid that other people are going to do that to you, because that's how your world operates. For Fred VanVleet, everything's a zero-sum game, right? So for him, it's like, there's one point guard, it's my spot. And if someone becomes better than me at point guard, then I'm going to be off the team and I'm not going to get a contract. It's very simple, right? So is he as invested in David Johnson and Delano Banton becoming great? No, because they play his position. You want Fred to be your buddy? Be a big. Be a center. Or be a point guard like Scottie, who is willing to play center. Now he loves you. But when you come out and you say, I'm a point guard, he's going to beef with you all day. So that's the problem, is I find him very parasitic as a human being. And
And like, that sounds like a large indictment, but people listen, it is real. Like it's beyond basketball with Fred. It's not. I have gripes about Siakam, and man, we're gonna get into Siakam. We really are gonna get into Siakam, but he doesn't have that kind of parasitic attitude,
No, I don't
But
think he does.
he did do one thing that pissed me the fuck off. Malachi gets the ball, he immediately claps his hands, says, "Give me the ball," and I'm like, the play is just developing, and that's just another gripe. But the parasitic nature of Fred VanVleet is so apparent when you're watching this game. There's never a chance where somebody can kind of get into their groove, get into their flow, and he chooses to pass the guys who have no chance for contract upside. Maybe it's going to be Siakam, who's in a contract next year, or it's going to be Barton, who's playing like complete utter shit. And then you're talking about David Johnson. Am I crazy for thinking David Johnson could do a better job than Barton here?
No, I like David Johnson a lot, actually.
If David Johnson's struggling in the 905, and you're playing Will Barton, and you previously said he's the worst player in the NBA, and I'm like, no way. And then I thought about it. I was watching this Mavs Warriors game, amazing game today, and I was flipping through the Raptors Mavs game, and
did the Mavs win?
No, Warriors won, and Jaden Hardy is getting passes from Doncic. Doncic is looking for Jaden Hardy. This is an ignite guy, okay? And you could, Doncic can get a rap to be selfish. People had speculations when Kyrie was joining him, like, can they really work out? And my opinion of Luka has completely flipped. But it takes a real leader, a real person with vision to sit down and be like, all right, well, if I really try to gun for everything for myself, I'm not going to win. And to add to this, Fred already earned $85 million and an $18 million contract prior to this. And these guys are fighting for their NBA lives, and he still has this attitude.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought he played okay last game. I really did. I believe I said that even. Like, I thought he played reasonably well. I mean, it's there's such a small gap in the stats between his bad games and his good games, but you see it when you see it. Like when he trusts his teammates and he doesn't control everything, he's a bit of a control freak, right? With the basketball, he wants to set it all up, he wants to organize it. And the problem is, like, it's like this. If you control everything while you're on the court, then no one else is going to have any sort of rhythm within the game, right?
Yeah.
They're going to basically be feeding off of you because you see yourself as some sort of Allen Iverson, Dame Lillard clone who warrants that type of usage. Now, when you go to the bench, the offense is going to crater, right? Because no one can initiate it but you. And the problem there is then the coach is going to be like, see, we suck. We suck with him, but we suck so much more without him. But you don't realize that if you just stopped letting him do this, you wouldn't suck so much without him. See, the goal, I think, of people, like, you familiar with zero-sum thinking, right?
No, quickly elaborate on it for me.
I think it's worth thinking about. I used to tell people that I go on a first date with that my biggest pet peeve is zero-sum thinkers. Can't stand them. The zero-sum thinking means that you think that there's a finite amount of something in the world, and if you have less, if someone else has more, that means you automatically have less, right? That mentality squeezes you into this defensive sort of parasitic attitude towards everybody else. So if someone has a little bit of success, that means you have a little bit less success. Collaborative and non-zero-sum thinkers like Scottie Barnes, like I'm sure even a Pascal Siakam, I don't think he seems very giving, like Pascal Siakam seems very generous with all the stuff that he's doing and whatever.
As a person, yes. As a person,
yes.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about as a person. And so you think about that, and you think about even, an OG Anunoby. And for them, when other people succeed, there's no thought of, well, they succeeded and now I'm going to have to succeed less. There's
Mm,
just a genuine happiness when someone else succeeds. So Scottie Barnes knows for a fact that Fred VanVleet plays point guard. Scottie Barnes also knows that OG Anunoby plays small forward. So if Scottie Barnes had a non-zero sum attitude towards life, or sorry, if he was a zero sum thinker, then every time OG would go off, instead of hyping him up and being really happy for him, he'd be like, "Oh no, that's one of my future positions. He's gonna take it." And if Fred VanVleet, like every time Fred VanVleet has a big game where he's passing or shooting, you always see Scottie share his shit on Instagram where he used to when he was following him, and he would share it and he would hype him up and he would go up to him and he would be so excited for him, right? And that's because he doesn't see it as a competition because they're on the same team. With Fred, it's always a competition. It's always a competition,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So my teammates, and he throws his teammates under the bus when they have a bad game. And tonight, I'm very curious. We're definitely going to check out the post-game presser from Fred VanVleet if he doesn't decide to duck the post-game presser. But you know what? Given how he thinks, he probably thinks he carried the team tonight.
Yeah,
Because he
and
probably
like
looks down, he says 28 points, boom, I carried the team. Yo, no one else showed up. I look forward to it.
Malachi's family has to hate Fred. Like he's taking money out of that family's like future. There's no other way I can say it.
I honestly, like, yesterday during our live stream, which by the way, honestly, I know it's 3 hours. I added chapters to anyone who's interested in just a deep dive into like what I think is wrong with analytics. Go check that out after this. It's a good one. Um, in that live, I said I don't think there's a huge gap between Fred, Pascal, OG, and Jakob. I think these are all the same level of player, just very different reputations, very different
Yeah.
roles,
Oh,
very
okay.
different
In that sense. Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms
Yeah.
of impact on
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of these
Yeah. Yeah.
guys are like, they're not franchise guys. They're not like the best player on a great team. They're all like solid starters who could be like the second or third leading shot taker on a team on one night and be really good at it, right? So all through this, so I'm looking at how Jeff Dowtin ran the team in the first half. That clutch, shot. How he's twitchy. He's really twitchy,
Yeah.
you know, and he's long and he doesn't suffer from as many mismatches as Fred. So I was thinking about him and I was like, okay, I'm like, what's the gap? Like, how large is the gap between a Jeff Dowtin, a Malachi Flynn, a Delano Banton, and a Fred VanVleet? Like, how big is it? Like, we're told the gap is seismic. Like, it's like 100 times better or something.
That's
Like,
what's sold to us.
but I'm like, I'm not sure, man, because I think, like, I'm not saying they're better. They're definitely not better. But would the offense run better with a Jeff Dowtin for one game? I would love to see the simulation. I wish this was like a video game where I could just play one game with Fred VanVleet and he does the 7 for 22 bullshit. And then we play one game where he just sits and he just does not play. And you don't replace him with
Do you
anything.
know
You
what
just
they?
literally move up Jeff Dowtin and Malachi Flynn into that position and let them play. And that game will probably be a lot more in rhythm for OG and Siakam.
And it'll pay dividends later on when you really need them. So if we were doing that in November or December, like today is when a Dowtin, a Flynn could really chip in if Fred VanVleet had to sit. But what's crazy about that analysis is it can't even happen because what they do is they put the ball in Pascal's hands if Fred has an injury or something. They find a way to give a forward or somebody else who has a clear contract lined up or they're not in free agency. And that idea where you're like trying to brainstorm what really happens when doesn't have the ball in his hand can't even happen. And that's spearheaded by Nurse. Because let's say Fred's injured. Okay, now Barton. He had that comment about Barton being backup point guard. Like there is a real disdain for the young guys on this team.
And why? What have they done? What the fuck have they done to anybody? I think they're all really good guys. They seem to be really great teammates. They're not sitting on the bench sulking, even though they're collecting DMP CDs. I see like every time, even when it's Fred, these guys aren't stupid. They're adults. They're not children. Like they know what's being done. They are blissfully aware of it. Some of them are going to be vocal about it later. Some of them have families who've been vocal about it. Like Malachi Flynn, for instance. His
Yeah,
family
and
has been very
rightfully so.
vocal.
Rightfully
Has been
so.
very vocal about it. His dad on Facebook, but also Justin Champagny was pretty vocal about it, about get me out of here. So look, I think um, it's interesting to see when Fred VanVleet has a big game or has a big moment that Jeff Dowtin is the first person up on his feet cheering for him.
Every
You know,
time.
every time. I think of Fred VanVleet as like almost like a spoiled brat, man. He has been blessed from start to finish with the Raptors, right? Great organization, coaching staff that's enabled him instead of stifled him. They gave him a chance, and I'm not trying to say like he owes them anything, but in a weird way, it's very easy. Like talk to Anthony Parker, the not Tony Parker, Anthony Parker, Candace Parker's brother, and the guy who played for the Raptors. Talk to him about how short a window you have to make an impression in the NBA, right? If you don't catch on to the right situation the first time around, especially as an undrafted, undersized guy from Wichita State, like you're done. Like you're in Europe for 3 years before you get another chance, or you're in the G League for 2 years. Like
If you
the
fumble,
Raptors,
yeah, you're toast. You're
the
toast if you
Raptors
fumble
really
there.
gave him a shot, and they gave him a shot over guys that they really believed in. Like they really believed in DeLon Wright. They didn't have to play him as a starter next to Kyle Lowry. They could have kept him in backup role. I think he's just been given such a blessed situation here, and then to basically turn around and just curse it and not want to get back to it. Like I look at him and I'm like, does he care about our draft pick next year? No. Yo,
He,
I
he
what
could care
one day
less.
I'll tell you right now, when he gets traded, if he gets dealt, if he leaves this team, I will release the world of messages that I have of just people who are very, very close to him and the shit that they have said about the Toronto Raptors organization, about him, about the fan base, about how they can't
Wow.
wait for him to leave. Yo,
Wow.
like these are the people that are his best friends. Okay, his
Really? Oh
best
God. Oh
friends.
God. Oh God.
And I'm not. This is a direct quote from Devron. Okay, I can't wait for him to leave y'all so I can stop dealing with this trash ass fan base. I believe that is a direct quote. Like,
It's
just
getting to the point where because like this like these were sentiments that you had, even I had, a lot of the people in the chat had in December. And this isn't new. These feelings aren't like they didn't bubble up a month ago. We saw the writing on the wall. There was a game. This is a game I reference all the time. There was a game in Miami. Fred had 5 fouls. He survived the game. He didn't foul out, and he got
mhm,
praised for it. And I'm like, yo, do you guys not see how dangerous that is in the long run? Like Nurse isn't gonna take him out. There's 8 minutes left in the fourth. He has 5 fouls. Nurse is not gonna pull him out for a few minutes, give Malachi a chance. Do you got
mhm,
that's gonna domino snowball into something where Malachi has no confidence in March, where you need him to hit a few threes.
yeah, for sure.
You know, and there was a game last season. This is when I first noticed in Atlanta. We had no chance of winning. I got to go find it on Basketball Reference. We were down maybe 18 with 3 minutes left. This is like classic garbage time in NBA speak.
Hmm.
He he kept all the starters in the game. He does that routinely. There's times where the win is out of hand. Let's chase some development. Let's get some dividends paying for us later down the line. We're not that good. And to tack on what's even worse to that is Masai doubles down and he gets Thad. That's an end game move. Then he gets Wancho, another 6'8" guy trying to bolster the vision, I guess, which is another end game move if you think it's already done. Because these guys have zero upside. They are what they are in the NBA. It's
Yeah,
getting, and then on top of that, your Jakob. You had a Jakob video where you had to defend your Jakob take, and I commented, you can definitely like a player and dislike a trade, okay? But
I agree.
once again, another end game move. This is the first day where I'm like, okay, the first thing I dislike, Fred. The second thing I dislike, Nurse supporting Fred. But there's been a subtle support from Masai to Nurse, I think, because how long can this go on for without Masai intervening? I don't believe Masai when he's saying I need Delano and Flynn to play some more at the trade deadline. He said that. Did it happen? It never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So there's are they lying to us? What's going on? I don't know if I can believe Masai's words. Playing for what? Delano and Malachi should play more. What's being said and what happens never happens.
Yeah. You ever listen to Beanie Siegel, man?
No. Talk to me.
Beanie Siegel, the rapper. Does anyone remember "Feel It in the Air"? Man, I
You
would.
showing your age, bro.
Am I
How
showing
old
my
is this?
age?
Because I'm 27. You're how old? Are you 35?
I'm 35. Yeah. I
Mm,
mean, you were a kid when that came out for sure. I remember
okay.
listening to that song on loop as I was doing
Okay.
community service. But I remember that song, and there's this one part when the handshake ain't what was it? Someone help me. Handshake ain't matching your brow, or handshake ain't matching your smile, something like that. I take that very seriously. When someone says something and does something else all the time, like you guys, when you hear me say this live's not going past an hour, you believe me? No. Because it happens like every fucking
Yeah.
day where I say it's not going past an hour and then it goes like to 3 hours because Coach Mo
I will
calls it
say
or some.
Coach Mo is a great listen though.
He was good last night, wasn't he?
Yeah,
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 he was
man.
spitting facts.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of my point. Like, if someone consistently is gonna tell you something and they're not gonna do it, like, yeah, I don't want to listen to Fred VanVleet talk about ball movement. But anyways, okay, you know what? I didn't find the exact messages, and I don't think I can release those, but I
Well,
am
you
gonna
can get like paraphrase it.
the Fred stuff. No.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay.
I'm gonna flash some of the stuff that his boy's been saying on, and you can confirm this.
Okay.
I'm gonna flash these three things. Y'all can read it for yourself. If you didn't know who he was, we're gonna expose this shit right now. So this is how someone very, very close to him talks about him in the Raptor space. Now, Malachi's dad gets a lot of, flack, I guess, for calling Nick Nurse Nick Nursery. Scottie's dad, got a lot of flack for commenting on this show, on Twitter. Some people were talking shit. Now he can't comment on here. So here's one.
Okay. Damn, y'all Fred Hager has been real quiet lately. Y'all haven't been saying nothing, but soon as he has a bad, y'all on his ass.
Yes, sir.
Oh my god, man, y'all hate Fred on so much. We want him to get traded too, so we don't have. We want him to get traded too, so we don't have to get no passport for us to see him play. He's one of the best things to happen to the team. He's natural born winner. Period. I see why. This guy's typing this. I see why don't no big name players want to come there. Look how y'all dog the players that go out every night and compete. Y'all ass be tweaking, and that's the wrong person to be calling selfish. What the fuck? No matter if he my cousin or not, y'all blame Fred for everything. No matter if he plays good or not. That's the sad part. And yes, I put it in caps. Y'all supposed to be fans. Most of y'all talk bad about why do they okay, holy why do we get put into an archetype where we just have to give blind support?
Exactly. And look, like Devron, if you ever watch this, and I'm sure someone's gonna send this to you, yo, I got receipts for days, bro. And like your boy's been like messaging, and I get shit for this. Someone said, "Oh, he started beef with Fred's family on Twitter." No, I didn't. I wrote about Fred, and I got a ton of messages from people who know him and people who are close to him and his family saying, "How could I do this? How could I do that?" I'm getting death threats. I'm getting calls from like, "Oh, come on this pod, Doc Cornell, bro." Like these are people who are really close to him, like really close. This is his
That
inner circle.
okay,
This would be
that
like
actually
if
support. Oh my god, that supports one of your theories, though. That literally
where do
supports
where
one
the
of
fuck do you think these theories come from? You think I'm just talking out of my ass all this time? Yo,
No, no,
I've
no.
been
But like
knowing about this for like 2 years.
the fucking Fred is manipulative. If you're getting death threats, right? I don't think.
It's not okay. Yeah, before we get completely capped off here, like no,
Okay.
not death threats, but
Okay.
like threats
Okay.
of violence. Like
Just
it's
like
vague threats
threats.
of violence. Like what was the exact? Hold on, I want to be very clear because this is like steering into don't get sued territory.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
It was the exact thing. Don't something about uh, just because we ain't rolling up, there,
Jeez.
or you better watch what you say. Um, you ain't supposed to be
Well,
talking like
just
that. Stuff like that.
things that go against your safety. All right, just okay. So
I
I,
mean, it's one. I never felt like, oh
okay,
shit. You know what I mean? Yeah,
all right.
I
Maybe
want
just okay. I don't want to
I
use
want
it.
to retract that from the record. No death
Okay,
threats, but
okay,
just
okay.
threats of like, we, yeah, like just because we ain't about to roll up or whatever, we're like
Okay.
that. You're gonna say this to my face and all this shit, and then got this open invite to come on a podcast with one of his close childhood friends, and it's like, you want to talk
Mhm.
about this? Let's talk about this. Okay, so then I'm like, all right, I'm not coming. And then someone told me, they're like, don't go on that shit, bro. Like, they're gonna ambush you and they're gonna manipulate what you say and then they're gonna release it. So I offered them to come on here. I was like, you come on here, I promise you have my word, swear to God, I will not manipulate anything you say, and we can do it live. Like, we do it live, and there's no manipulation, there's no editing.
I don't even
And
think like you can remix what you say. Like the proof is in the pudding. The stat sheet is there. The games are in front of us.
yeah, look, I mean, let's be real. If any players, family, cousins, first cousins, brother, sister, etc., these people are talking as mouthpieces for them, and I mean, look, this is why I say that young players, you need to keep your circle close. John Morant, talking to you, but also, Scottie Barnes, who
Mhm.
has, by the way, a great circle. Scotty's circle is close. They're great. He doesn't have people coming on random fucking Facebook posts saying stupid ass shit,
Mhm.
because that's the problem, right? If you're close to a player, and this is like John Morant's circle too. If you got a boy like who's 21, 22 years old, Fred's 28, whatever, he's grown, right? But if you got a guy who's super young and you look at him like your meal ticket, right? And in so many fucking ways, and I'm not even trying to be rude, it's true, right? You got a whole bunch of people, they're coming from they're coming from humble beginnings. Let's put it that way, right? Like
Okay.
this is a sad reality of a lot of NBA players. It's like we're coming from a lot of poverty, and one guy makes it, and then that becomes a hope for a community. And the Fred VanVleet Foundation and all this stuff is like a really big part of like the community effort going back to Rockford, right? But the the way that the people around him talk about the Toronto Raptors as some sort of NBA outpost that can never bring big stars, that kind of gives you an idea. And I'm just being very real about this in terms of the American psychology, at least people who haven't adjusted to playing in Toronto.
Mm.
There are a lot of people who believe that Toronto would be lucky to get me. There's that attitude. There's almost like an elitist, I'm above this place attitude. And then there is a complete flip side, which is, the Jonas Valanciunas, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry almost embrace of this city to the point where they're like, this is the best situation in the world. Like,
Mm.
this is my home. I love this place. And I've known NBA players who felt the first way. Like, let me put it this way. Kyle Lowry, okay, like I know I just complimented Kyle Lowry, and I'm going to kind of insult him here, but he was willing to go to the Spurs for less money. Okay.
Wow.
Um, Little known
Well,
fact.
the tax like I'm pretty sure like is San Antonio like do you get tax?
Mm,
Is there state income tax?
no, there is not.
Okay.
Also, do you know before Chris Bosh signed with the Miami Heat that he was going to go to another team? Do you know what that team is?
No, I didn't. I never knew that. I thought it was just straight Miami.
So I don't know if this is breaking news, but I heard this yesterday from a friend of mine, and it's
Mm,
confirmed true, 100%.
okay.
So Chris Bosh was initially going to go to the Miami Heat, and they were not going to give him a max contract. Okay. So he was going to sign for less than a max. And he was not happy about this.
Okay.
So he decided to get an offer from another team. Do you take a wild guess on who that
Okay.
other team
Can I
was?
just know East or West? Can you at least do that?
West.
West Coast. Probably. I'll go Grizzlies.
Nope.
Okay. I'll go Hornets.
Hornets. That's East.
Oh, it was West. My
You
bad.
mean
Okay.
Pelicans?
Yeah. Okay. It has to be a trash team at the time. So this is 2010. Who was at the bottom of? Because I know where you're going with
Everyone's
this.
saying Dallas. It's not Dallas.
Let's go with okay. How were the Warriors good at the time?
Y'all saying? Sheridan Forbes got it.
Rockets. Okay. Okay. No.
Yeah.
No. No.
So
No
they
taxes.
were about to pair James Harden, Dwight Howard, and Chris Bosh. Crazy, right?
Oh my
And
god.
then in the last moment, literally like just like that, the Miami Heat decided to bend. They got Dwayne Wade
I
and Chris
guess that
Bosh to
makes
take a little
sense
bit
because
less.
the Rockets went at Chris Bosh during free agency, and the Miami re-signed them. So that actually does support that because I remember it was either Houston or Miami on his next deal.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't remember hearing about that, but I remember how close it was, and I didn't know at the time um how how unwilling the Miami Heat were to give him that max that he wanted. But apparently at the end they caved and they gave it to him.
Yeah.
So they gave him everything. Um but yeah, that was
Uh,
interesting. But anyways, Chris Bosh was a guy who had that attitude. And it showed. And it showed literally the second he left. What did he say? Oh, the air is different here. As an American, I tell you, the air is not different. It's not different. It's
no,
that's
but
a
like I
the
think
feel of
Americans
the
got that.
yeah, but that attitude coming from his family, oh, we got passports, whatever.
Hmm.
Yo,
Hmm.
honestly, that attitude was the exact same attitude that Frida Bosch had. His mom, Frida Bosch, oh, like passports, this is going to be complicated, blah 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 blah. This ignorance of, playing in Canada is a bad thing, cannot be wiped out. If it's there, it's going to stay there for a lot of players, right? And there are
Hmm.
a small minority. I think it's a decreasing minority in the NBA that believe that playing in Canada is some sort of massive concession. I think playing in Toronto is one of the top 8 to 9
Yeah.
situations in the NBA. And if crossing a border is super annoying, it's not really that annoying anymore, guys. Like, come on.
I think
Um,
a few things helped us. I think Drake. I think the championship. There's and just in popular culture, Toronto is just getting
yeah,
higher up
I
there.
mean, look, like you can't be bad. Like the team
Yeah.
can't be bad. Because when you're bad, then people are like, wait, customs? Shit, fuck this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Taxes,
Yeah.
customs? No. You got to be good. You got to be stable, right? And the city's got to keep growing. But the city is growing regardless. It's a
Yeah.
growing city. It's a growing metropolis. It's a beautiful place. Cold weather and all, right? Like, I mean, you have 2 former rookies of the year who are from Florida. I think honestly the 3 best draft picks, 3 of the best draft picks that have ever come through this team, Vince,
Yeah.
Tracy, and Scottie, all come from Florida. That's kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like so. I mean, there's always going to be that complication, but it's like to have his family talk this way. I never heard anybody's family talk this way while a guy was on the team. Actually, I have, and I'm not going to say who, but I have, but it's rare, especially for your leader and your starting guy. And so for him, it's like big fish, small pond, right? He thinks it's a small pond. It's not that small a
Wow.
pond, bro. And you might think that, oh, Toronto will never get a Dame Lillard, or Toronto would never get, so they got to settle for. And this attitude is it permeates through so many Americans. This idea of Toronto is just so desperate for American approval. And honestly, over the last 10 years, I've been trying to wipe this out. As a new Canadian, I just want I just want Canadians to stop caring what American
And
people think.
I also think Masai, some like, do you? Well, I don't know if it's true, but do you think Masai chooses some of his players that don't have that mindset, like the people he drafts, the people he trades for?
Oh, I mean, you could make a case that if for Pascal Siakam, someone who speaks multiple languages, even a Chris Boucher, Delano Banton, these guys are both Canadian, right? They obviously
Yeah.
have no American biases, right? Um, maybe that's part of it. I mean, that was definitely a theory that Brian Colangelo had when he was drafting Andrea Bargnani and trying to bring in Hedo Turkoglu and stuff like that. I get it, and definitely, but look at the last, 4 or 5 MVPs in the league. Look at the top 3 MVP vote getters, every year. They're all international. So, maybe going
Yeah.
international, like the world or America. It's getting close. It's getting close, man. It's still America. America's still number one. But
But
like,
like for Fred VanVleet Circle or just people in general to think that like we are some poverty franchise,
yeah,
it hurts because it's not the case in popular culture anymore, and it's also not
yeah,
the case in the NBA.
yeah. Um,
And what you're saying, what you're saying is, I think Fred thinks he's above us. Then,
his family certainly thinks he's above us, and
yeah.
I mean, you got people in his life who are saying this on the internet. They're not the only one, by the way. They're all consistent in this messaging. It's not just Devron. It's like Aramax has the same attitude. There's
Mm-hmm.
other people that have the same attitude that are from. So look, people are gonna call me an asshole for flashing that on the screen, right? Because I'm not Fred VanVleet. I'm not your favorite Raptor or your second favorite Raptor or whatever. And it's just pretty odd to hear someone who's a commentator on basketball flashing shit like this. But I'm not even trying to like be professional about this. I'm not. I'm so sick of it. I had to watch this shit. I'm just trying to say, maybe if I talk about this, someone's going to start questioning this too. Maybe it
I
gets into
started.
the people who are actually talking to him on a day-to-day basis and be like, yo, control your inner circle. Because this type of shit, it's amazing. Look, every star player has people in the media that protect them. It happens. Okay, there are look, people have divorces, people have scandals, people have pregnancy scares, people have baby mamas that want money and they take hush money to go away. And trust me, there's a reason why the tabloids are not running with these lines all the time, because the people who hear about it protect that information. I mean, Michael Jordan had scandal after scandal. I remember I think I was like 18 or 19. There was like an Oprah Winfrey thing that I got wind of, and I was just like, oh my God, if this ever comes out, Oprah's career is over. Never came out. So stuff like that, where it's like, oh shit, like these people have so much money and so much control, and they're able to sort of shield themselves from the consequences of their thoughts and actions and whatever. So I see it as, if something is public, and I'm not flashing the private messages because I think that might be a bit, that's going, I think, a level further. Maybe I don't want to
Well, yeah, because you
do that.
flashed something that was public. So
Yeah, but this is a public thing. You could literally search it.
yeah.
So yeah. So anyway, SG, thank you so much for calling in, man. Long
Um,
discussion. And
hopefully
maybe,
things get better, man.
yeah.
Fuck. All right,
All right,
thanks,
man.
bro.
Cheers. All right. Next up, Daryl. What up, man? What's going on, Daryl?
Not much. How you doing?
The rim was open.
The rim is open, man. The rim was open. Yeah.
How's it going? What'd you think of the game?
Well,
Oh my God, did someone just say, love the Fred VanVleet jersey behind you? Y'all crazy. Hold on. Hold on. This is the big reveal. By the way, my girlfriend was like, do you think people are going to think that's a Fred VanVleet jersey behind you? And I was like, they are going to. And then they're going to be like, oh, I get it. Hang on. It's not a Fred VanVleet jersey. It's my jersey.
Fred VanVleet is wearing your jersey.
He is. I got that in 2013. So just saying. Just saying. It's my jersey. Anyway, that's funny, right?
Yeah. Right now it's just there's a bit of noise, so I'm going to mute my mic and let you talk a little bit, and then in about 2 minutes, then I've got some points that I'd like to share.
Okay. What do you want me to talk about?
Rob can't think of something to talk about. All right. Well, okay, let's start this then. Talk about Ben Taylor.
Ben Taylor. The demotion?
The demotion.
That whole concept?
Yeah.
Look, honestly, my theory on referees is, I know referees. I've played and I've had a chance to, beef with referees, talk shit to referees. I have a great deal of empathy for referees, especially when I hear more about their stories. I heard an NBA referee that I talked to in 2009, 2010, after a game. I had, a chance to actually get to know them a little bit. I can't remember the guy's name now, but fuck, who was it? Anyway, long story short, older dude, and I got a chance to listen to him talk after the game, and he was like, yo, my family watches every game. I referee, and when I come home, they're like letting me know how I did. And they're giving me honest feedback. They're telling me like, oh, you screwed up here, you screwed up. And my family has favorite players. And if I don't give that player a favorite whistle, like I'm gonna get a cold shoulder when I get home. Like, oh my God, you called so many fouls on James Harden. I hate you. You know, he's like, and he's like, and that's just the pressure that we're trying to do. We're trying to do the best job. And sometimes, look, you have Alvin Williams sitting courtside with the benefit of a television monitor. He doesn't have to move. He has a static position, and he has a monitor right next to him. The benefit of replays, and he gets calls wrong all the time, all the fucking time. And he's an ex-player. These guys are having three guys, you know, and the game gets faster. As the game has gotten faster, this three official stuff, right? It's just harder. So their job is already hard enough. Now they're human beings, and there's an intimidation factor when someone who makes 50, 80 times more than you is coming up and showing you up all the time. It's making it hard to do your job too. I agree with Fred VanVleet that, you know, we're not paying to watch them. Yes, but they are absolutely essential. Okay? They are essential to the game. Without referees, you don't have a game. Okay? You have street ball, right? With guys calling their own fouls. And you don't want to see Pascal Siakam calling his own fouls. It'll literally be like, you know, a free throw contest. You play 21. That's the whole game. So I think that they have a really tough job, and to have one referee just singled out like that, especially when I don't believe that he had a case. I think Scottie had a point with Scott Foster. I think that was ridiculous. And you know, even if Scottie needs to chill a little bit, I get it. But I think if Scottie wants to go out and blast Scott Foster and say, you know, it was a crucial moment. I'm a really big player for my team. I'm a former rookie of the year. I deserve some fucking respect. And, you know, I had no technicals. You had no right to toss me out of the game. And, you know, maybe Scottie learns a lesson there. Says, you know, if you're going to openly in front of everybody say, y'all cheating, you're going to get tossed. And that's a learning lesson. And hopefully, you know, even though he tweeted after, I'm in disbelief, he didn't take it further than that. He didn't say Ben Foster is, you know, the worst player, worst person in the world, and he's fucking terrible at his job and whatever. But imagine the next 3 days of Ben Taylor's life, right? Like he's just coming home, and his kids have to go to school, and they're like and you know, there's like the Tim Donaghy thing. It looms large, right? Look, I don't like Ben Taylor in terms of like how he operates, in terms of how he is as a, you know, how he talks sometimes. Like when he does he doesn't seem like very nice. He has a very punchable face, if I may say that. You know, he's kind of like a WWE heel. He's kind of annoying, but he does a good job, man. I like actually went and studied some games that he's refereed, and he seemed very fair. He was willing to talk to players. You know, after he made a controversial call, he wasn't just like, no. Because a lot of referees do that. They're just like, no. They're staring off at the blank. He was actually talking to people. And look, he's a newer referee. He's not new, but he's newer. He's not like a 20-year official or whatever. I think the guy's trying to do his job. So look, if he was demoted because of Fred VanVleet, fuck, Adam Silver, grow a pair. You know, stop being overrun by the players. You know, like I understand player empowerment. I've always been for player empowerment. But at some point, you know, you got to think about every other thing that's making this possible, including the advertisers, including, you know, the commentators, the referees, the fans, everything. That has to be considered into it. It cannot just be players above everything, you know. And players are not always right. Oftentimes they are wrong. And in case of Fred VanVleet versus him, I think he was wrong. I think Fred's wrong. I don't think he has some personal vendetta against him. I feel like every single tech that he got, he deserved in all those games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, you know, I think that the interesting part of all of it. Oh my goodness, really? Just a minute for the noise. I'm sorry. It's like it's dead silent for 7 minutes, and then immediately kids start yelling. So anyhow, I think the interesting part of all of this is that the NBA appears to have demoted him. Is that even
true?
Well, that's the thing. It's
because he was a crew chief tonight.
Yeah, but what I mean is by demoted, I don't mean by demoted like stripped him of his position as an NBA referee, but taking him off of a lot of games. I think I read something that he like lost 5 of his next 10. I don't remember exactly what it was, but like he'd been taken off of his duty, several of his duties. His workload became way less. So I think that's where people are getting the word demoted from. But obviously, it's not like an official positional demotion. I mean, that I don't think that the union would be too happy about that. But anyway, my thing that I think is very interesting is this some low-key way of of the NBA after what I assume was an investigation validating what Fred said? Or is it, or do you think they're just trying to keep him on the low key until this blows over?
Look, I think if you start really like this Fred VanVleet thing is scandal. Like it got reshared, it got retweeted. There were a lot of players,
Yeah.
showing support for it.
Yeah.
And it kind of made him a hero, right? For 48 hours. Not a hero in my honest trailer for that, but he certainly he got a lot of credit for it, for speaking his mind and being authentic and all that stuff. And I gotta be honest, when I was listening to him talk about it before I thought about who he was and what he was doing and what the means and the ends were, I kind of felt like, oh, this is the most from the heart I've ever heard him speak. He's such a practiced politician that him sort of speaking like fuck, like blasting the F-bomb everywhere. It almost felt like, oh, is this really how he feels? It's nice to hear how Fred really feels as opposed to some sort of practice speech that he's, practiced 100 times. But that's when I realized this was also a practice speech that he's heard 100 times. It's always somebody else's fault with this guy. Always. It's his teammates. It's the officiating. It's, the coaching. It's the system. It's this. It's that. Whatever. I'm watching this man, and it feels like I'm very curious to see what he says in the post game if he does it, because I very much doubt he's going to say I had a terrible game. And if he does credit, I'll probably change the name of this video if he does that. But I don't think he's going to say that. I think he's going to say we had a tough night. We just couldn't get it going. I haven't even heard it yet, but it's the classic Fred VanVleet after a loss. He had a big game. We need other guys to get it rolling. OG couldn't get it rolling tonight, whatever. And it's just like, offense works on a string. So does defense. And, one guy just isn't in sync with everybody else, kind of doing his own thing. It just screws everybody up.
In your last call, you were talking about how you were getting harassment from Fred's family and friends. And I remember when that was all going on.
You remember it. You were in the group.
Oh, I was right there. And actually, I also have an open invitation to Doc Cornell's, whatever it is, his podcast or vlog or whatever he does. And because I didn't even talk nearly half as much about it as you did, but he was on me for a bit too. Yeah. So
what did he say to you?
No, he was like, no, we got into some arguments, and he's like, come on my show. Let's talk about this. Come on my show. And I was like, pass.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I wasn't getting threats or anything, but he was heated. He was heated with me too. So, but that's the only person with any connection to Fred, as far as I know. Oh, actually, no. I think there was that other guy. What's his name? Aramis or Aramis?
Yes.
That guy. I think he threw a couple of salty sentences my way once or twice, but.
I mean,
whatever. Water off a duck's back.
It's not like, I mean, to any young athletes out there, you really do need to limit the amount of this shit that happens, because it's such a dramatic, it's drama for your team. You don't need it, right? Your team doesn't need this. And so, Malachi Flynn's dad, honestly, man, as a person who is, dabbled in faith and stuff, some of the stuff that he says, it strikes me as like kind of crazy sometimes, Like he seems very unhinged.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
I was going to say he seems very evangelical, but I'm not. I'm not sure what that. If that's okay, I'm not using that as an insult, but I just mean that sometimes when I've attended some very evangelical church services, some sort of
bro. The guy called Scottie Barnes Dennis Rodman.
All right, yeah. So sometimes he says some stuff.
What religion is telling people that Scottie Barnes is like Dennis Rodman? I just want to know. Yo, and I was just like, I was just like, what? I think I wrote initially, my comment on that was, if you think Scottie Barnes is Dennis Rodman, God help you. But then I was like, this could be construed as rude. So let me go back and I think I wrote something a little less rude, which was like, if you think Scottie is Dennis Rodman, you need to check your eyes. I think I said something like that.
Well, here's the thing that gets me is that the responses and the reactions to, all right, let's just say that you say something that somebody disagrees with or has some issue with. Why don't they just say, I have an issue with this. This is why I have the issue with this. Instead, they start saying crazy stuff. And it doesn't help their arguments. Like, can't they see
You
that?
kind of feel for a parent though, like, don't you? Like, I mean, imagine, like, you have kids, right? I don't have
I
kids,
do,
but
yeah.
you have kids, right?
I do.
Now, are either of your kids, you have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids. Yeah,
Are either of them boys?
I do. I have my oldest is a son. He's 6.
Okay, so imagine little Daryl Jr. Okay.
His name is Graham.
Graham?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say Graham makes it to the NBA one day, right?
Oh, he
And let's
will.
say he will, eh? Nice.
Yep.
All right. So let's say Graham makes it to the NBA. He's playing for the Memphis Grizzlies.
No, he's going to be a ref. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. He's playing for the Memphis Grizzlies.
Shit. Set the sights high, man. All right. So, right. So, I mean, this is, using Graham, we could talk about so many things, but nevertheless, so let's say Graham makes it to the Memphis Grizzlies and you got fans talking all sorts of mess about him. He's not getting minutes. They're saying, why do we waste a draft pick on this guy? This guy who's picked ahead behind him is so much better than him. So, and you're part of this group. You know how much restraint it takes
I do.
to not say something?
And I would be very snarky.
You would be. Okay.
I would be.
But
100%.
that's
But I
but
wouldn't
that's
say
where
crazy stuff.
but that is where you need to have some serious fucking respect for Scottie's inner circle and OG's inner circle,
Oh,
because they're all in these groups, by the way.
Yeah.
Just an FYI.
Yeah.
OG's girl is in the group, I'm sure.
Really?
Scotty's parents, friends,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
family. He's got aunts, uncles, whatever. They're all in the group.
Yeah.
None of them
No,
saying
they're
shit.
silent. They're quiet. Yeah, I know. And they're seeing the stuff that
Yo,
these
and it's not even they're silent. They're actually like praising the team. They say, "Great job, Raptors. It's good stuff, Raptors."
Yeah.
The apple does not fall far from the tree, as we say.
Kathy, Scotty's mom, Kathy, she's like the biggest Raptors fan now. She's always out there like pumping the Raptors, not just Scotty.
Absolutely. She roots for OG. She's rooting
Yeah, she
for
does.
Fred. She's rooting for everybody, man. And it's a look. And I mean, straight up, like, there's no vendettas there, right? It's a holistic. Even like, listen to Brian. When we did the interview with him, right? And it's like, did he throw Fred under the bus? No. Did he throw OG or Pascal under the bus? No. He's Scotty's trainer. He's not the Raptors trainer. He's Scotty's trainer. He had an opportunity there to say, well, I think Scotty's better than so. You never heard that from him at all. Why? Because the focus is making Scotty better. The focus is not making anybody else worse. And that's the whole idea behind it. I've learned so much from that entire thing, because I can be petty sometimes. I definitely can. I need to be better about it. And maybe this whole live stream is petty to some extent, right? Fred, we need to have a thing. My big jersey reveal, like Hulk Hogan, that whole thing.
That was a classic Pensari moment right there.
That is a Pensari moment right there. But I honestly, I was just egging people on. I was just like, man, people are gonna be like, oh, Rob has a Fred VanVleet jersey, and then someone's gonna be like, no, it was his jersey. But yeah, I think it's hard to watch an entire fan base rip someone apart that you've grown up idolizing, that you rely on, that you think is a good guy, lying about that person, right? Like, if my girlfriend went on Twitter and read some of the shit that they say about me, she would probably be like, what the fuck? Why are they saying this about you? It's not true. It's hard, right? And I'm like 1/1,000,000th the speck of dust that Fred VanVleet is. Fred VanVleet's talked about probably like once every 4 minutes on the internet. So yeah, I get it. And same thing with Malachi. Like, this fan base is sometimes very cruel to players who don't play minutes. And I find that very stupid. And I think sometimes you have to look at the environment. You have to look at the environment and say, if this person, specifically Malachi's dad, or even whoever, like whoever's family is responding in a way that is not what we consider constructive or healthy, is the environment in which they are operating, is a situation to which they are responding constructive or healthy. Because bad situations can make people go bad. You know,
No,
I don't remember. Malachi's dad was all positivity during Tampa, all positivity. He was incredible. He was just rooting for his son. Even when his son was collecting the MPCDs, he was just like, I love the Raptors, whatever. Why did it turn sour? What happened?
Yeah. The thing with him, I get it. Like, he wants to see his son play. I get that. Like
Absolutely,
he wants his
absolutely.
son
Who
to have an
wouldn't? Who
opportunity.
wouldn't
Yeah.
want their son to play? You know, I know people in Malachi's life,
Yeah.
you know, and they seem like really good people. I'm just saying, even though he called Scottie Barnes Dennis Rodman, I'll forgive that. They seem like good people. They seem like people from like.
Dennis Did he have a dream about Dennis Rodman the night before or something? Like what?
I don't know, man. I was just
Was he
like,
watching like
yo.
North Korean
I
news or
swear,
what?
I thought he was right. I thought he was writing to me, yo, because it's like I got triggered all those times when people were calling Scotty Draymond. This guy's just like, let me take it one step further. Let me take it 10 steps further. I don't know what's next. I don't know what's next. Scotty is Kevon Looney. Like
Well,
we're going down. Anyway,
Scotty is Jason Williams.
yeah.
Like seriously. Yeah,
Jeez.
you know, like here's the thing about those the difference you were mentioning, like Scotty's group and OG's group. They're all in the Facebook group, and they all have their ears to the ground. They hear what's going on, but they're not zero sum thinkers, like you were saying. It's not about like it's you know, if we succeed, then, or if they succeed, then that means my guy's got to fail. Or it's like it's not like that. It's just like you said, they're about empowerment of their guy, not at the expense of the other guy.
Yeah,
You know?
but you know the private conversations are different, right? You do know that. Like the
Yeah, for
private
sure.
conversations are like Fred's a fucking ball hog. That's
Yeah,
the private Thanksgiving dinner conversation. Fred doesn't fucking pass the ball. That
right.
conversation, which I have been privy to several times,
Well, in OG's
exists,
house, yeah,
but
for
it's
sure.
not public. It's
Yeah,
not public. It's between player and agent. It's on text chains. It's on private messages that you are not privy to, or maybe I'm not privy to. But the reality of the situation is that shit never makes it out. And that's how the Raptors have always operated. You know, there's ideas of like, you know, how has this team held it together for so long? You know, it's so many changes. You've changed coaches, but through Masai Ujiri's era, it's been pretty drama free, hasn't it? For the most part, things don't get out, things aren't leaking, guys aren't like feuding. You don't hear about locker room tensions. You don't have guys, you know, flashing guns on Instagram. It's good. It's gravy, right? Well, you do that by A, drafting character guys, and B, managing it in a way that works. I don't think this season. I think this season has been. I don't think it's been an outlier. I think it's just been more of a progression from what has been happening the last 2 years. It's just coming more to the surface, and we're talking about it more because they're losing. So yeah. Anyway, Daryl, thanks a lot for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
yeah. I'll leave you with one last thing.
Sure.
The first thing that I thought of about my reason for calling in is that I know why the Mavs lost the game today. Do you want to hear why? It was hilarious.
No, why?
It's gonna make your day. It was funny. So I was switching. I switched a little bit back and forth to the Mavs and Warriors game, especially during halftime. They were still on there, and I switched during halftime. And the very first possession that I saw, it made me kind of do a double take.
Okay.
Who do you think the Mavs were running at point guard today?
Jaden Hardy.
Try again.
No idea. I didn't watch the game. Was it Luca?
Now you'll never guess. It was Christian Wood.
What?
He was.
He came
I'm
off the
dead-
bench today.
But when he was playing point guard. Even when Luca was on the floor, for the minutes that I was watching, and he brought the ball up, and then held it for a minute, looked around to initiate the offense. Some guys were cutting, and he passed it for an immediate interception, and Kuminga ran in on a 1-on-0 fast break and put up a monster dunk. And then the very next play, Christian Wood brought it up again and initiated the offense again. It was just, I mean, obviously he didn't play point guard the whole game, but during the snippets that I was watching, he was initiating the offense and bringing the ball up the floor. Christian Wood. And I had a double take. I had to literally like that. It looks like Christian Wood. Is it really Christian Wood? And then I saw on the back of the jersey, yeah, it is Christian Wood.
I just want a
couldn't
team to
believe it.
have Fred VanVleet and Christian Wood. I want them both. I want to consider it like you know, like you know, like if you have a whole bunch of bombs, just put them in the same room and let the same room explode. Like let that happen on the same team, you know.
Please put Russ on that team too.
Russell Westbrook, yeah.
Oh,
You know
man,
what?
that'd
Like
be
let's
awesome.
let's
Andre
you know,
Drummond.
here's a new video idea. I'm actually gonna write this down. The all NBA selfish team. All
that would
NBA
be
selfish
hilarious.
team. Yeah, like Russ, Fred VanVleet. You got like Carmelo Anthony coming in from, you know, not even in the NBA anymore. Yeah, Christian Wood. Jesus.
What a backcourt. Russ and Fred. Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine Russ and Fred on the Raptors as the Raptors backcourt?
One can't shoot, one can't stop shooting. It would be hilarious, and the
Yeah,
universe would implode on itself. But you
yeah,
know
it
what's
would.
funny? Like I think Russ would take the point from Fred.
Yeah, he would actually. That's true. That's
That's
true.
the funny thing because
I might actually.
he's still more talented, and he's got a bigger resume. And if all you care about is your resume, like if you see, that's the thing. Like if you use one set of logic, like if you use a type of logic to defeat an argument, then the same type of logic can be can be used to defeat you to some extent, right? So if you say to someone, "I have more of a right to speak than you because I'm taller than you," and if that's the logic that you've always used, then when someone who's taller than you comes along, they're gonna get to talk over you, and then be like, "Well, now I'm taller than you, so shut the fuck up." And your brain will not be able to disassemble the fact that you have just been using faulty logic the whole time, right? So Fred VanVleet has always used this idea of like, I'm the veteran, I'm the most accomplished, I'm the leader, blah 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 blah, right? But if Russell Westbrook comes into that's kind of like, when I look at this team and I see like a complete absence of guys with big resumes, right? Yeah, like because any one of those guys coming in would take over your entire team, very quickly. So yeah.
Got to put Anthony Simons on that team too.
Oh yeah, I like Anthony Simons, but yes, he's never met a shot he didn't like.
Nope.
Yeah. Anyway, Daryl, thanks a lot, man.
Yep.
Calling in.
Right.
Thanks. Cheers. We've got Lane coming on, but since we've been talking so much about Fred VanVleet, let's play what Fred VanVleet had to say at the post game first, and then we'll get to Lane, and that will be it for us tonight.
What happened?
Sorry, no offense, Chris Boucher. We're gonna move to Fred.
We
VanVleet.
are having different guys on the floor and all that, and guys are still trying to figure it out, how to defend and play together. I think we had really great moments today, protecting the rim, contesting the shot and all that. They made tough ones. DJ McCollum make tough shots. Those are shots that we feel like we would take any day, and we made them, so it makes it a lot harder when those guys are making the shots on top of the main guys.
Hey, Fred, did it feel like it just came down to shot making, or where did you see you guys fall short?
Yeah, I mean, that was part of it. It was a lot of things tonight. I thought just overall low energy, low compete level, lack of execution, not really trying to get done what we were trying to get done, so which really just got completely outplayed. I mean, if you watch the game, look at the stats and pretty much every aspect, points in the paint, second chance points, fast break points. We turned them over 18 times, but other than that, they just outplayed us tonight.
I mean, energy's been a word that we come back to frequently. Do you have any answer for it tonight?
No, I mean, look, it was one of those ones. So we got to be able to move on, short-term memory, and focus on the ones in front of us. But I just thought, everything was a little step slow on defense and a lot of short shots. And, the ball was sticking. That happens when you're just not moving. Bodies weren't moving, at the normal speed we need them to. And the way we play, we need to be pretty crisp. And I just didn't think we had that overall. But give those guys a lot of credit. They deserve to win tonight.
You guys had a lot of trouble guarding the double drag actions towards the end. When that is going well for you guys, do you find it's being more sticky at the point of attack or being kind of quicker on the back end rotations?
We just didn't have an answer at all, and we didn't really get to an adjustment that worked either. So, I'm sure, we'll look at the tape and, understand we could have done something differently. But, overall our defense has been a lot better than it was tonight. But, they spread the floor pretty well. They play a lot of different guards, and, that was just, a tough matchup in that regard. We just couldn't get it under control out front. And, pretty much the whole game. We had good defense in a couple minute spurts, maybe in the second and third a little bit there. But other than that, they pretty much got whatever they wanted.
Pascal did a good job of reading the defense as the game went on. Do you see that happening in real time as he's kind of picking that stuff up and making those adjustments in the middle of the game?
Yeah, just being more patient. I think, he's just letting it come to him. And early on, just missed a couple bunnies, and then took his time, figured out where he could attack, and seeing where the help was coming from, and was able to find his spot. So I thought he played a really good game offensively, and then we just couldn't make the plays down the stretch that we needed to. Probably needed to score a little bit more the way our defense was going, and 20% from three, and this is one of those nasty, ugly games for us. But we got games in front of us, so we gotta get better and try to put a better performance together on Friday.
On another note, you've spent your entire career in Canada. You've obviously played a big part in the growth of basketball in this country as an honorary Canadian, I guess, so to speak. How cool is it to see all of the Canadian talent pretty much on a nightly basis coming in here?
Well, very cool tonight. So,
pictures.
Yeah, it's not much appreciation for me tonight, but you guys should be proud. You guys should be proud, and just how far the game has come, and so many guys. Even since I've been in the league in my 7 years, it feels like every year there's more and more young Canadians coming into the league that play well and that play big minutes and that have really bright futures in this league. So, maybe we shouldn't be so welcoming to them when they come play us, but. Like Nembhard killed us tonight. Obviously, Mathurin's having a great year. We know O'Shea, we had him. We got our own Canadians on our team. So, we've seen a lot of them in the last week. And, as the Canadian basketball culture should be very proud and excited about the future.
I think teams spend so much time looking at upside of prospects that quality players like...
Yo, honestly, if you ever attended NBA media training, bro, bring this guy in as guest lecturer. I swear to God, you cannot answer questions better than this. If I asked ChatGPT how to answer a question, it would give me this, basically. This is like, is he using ChatGPT on his phone? It's like, what's the most pleasing thing for somebody to hear right now? Everything is we. Yeah, when you suck, everything's we. We didn't move the ball. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. Yo, I'm sick of this. I used to listen to Chris Bosh do this and lose my fucking mind every time, because it was like, when you win, like, oh, I did this. I'm so great. I'm this. I'm that. When you lose, it's like we, us. Shut the fuck up. Go the other way. When you lose, then say I. When you win, then say we. You fucking asshole. Okay, sorry. That's too far. But yo, it's like, this pisses me off because you listen to this and you think he's such a good dude. And it's like, this is so counter to what he's actually doing. I'm sorry. This is nuts. All right.
Like Nembhard, and because they're older prospects, fall down the draft. People spend so much time on age.
Every year. We see it every year. So, potential is just, I'm not going to comment on it. But, yes, I think people get caught up in what you think somebody should be or what you want them to be, instead of just trusting your eyes and going with somebody who's done it their whole life. And we watched the kid do it. He's been the same player everywhere he goes. It wasn't going to be any different in the league, and just need a little bit of opportunities. He's having a great year.
All right, Malachi, you came into the game at immediate impact. What did you see out there?
Just trying to be aggressive, just trying to be a spark. Got to be ready at any moment, so I just went out there and tried to do my thing.
How hard is it to kind of make that mental adjustment to, having a bigger role, just given the fact that there's injuries and just understanding that you're going to be controlling a bit of the pace?
It's just part of the game. I'm used to it. It's happened before in the past, so just trying to capitalize on any opportunity I get.
And then you guys are now 7-1 at home, I believe, over the last 8 games. Why is it so important to protect home court?
We got great fans that come out every night and support us. We're just trying to get wins for them, for sure.
And then do you feel any pressure at all with the season ending and playing starting to come around and the standings matter?
Not pressure. I think we're a good team and we'll get some wins and everything will take care of itself. I think we'll be all right.
It took a little while to get any kind of smoothness to your game plan?
Well, agree, right? It didn't feel super organized at either end at the start, right, or for a while. I thought that we let a lot of chances go. I thought we had a lot of fast break opportunities we didn't score on in the first half.
Yo, I hope someone asked him about
Didn't
Barton.
shoot it nearly well enough with, a bunch of wide open shots, in the game as well. And just couldn't quite get over the hump.
Yeah, you knew their guards were really quick.
I just want him to for one time just say who didn't shoot well. I want him to say our backcourt shot 9 for 30. Our backcourt did not shoot well. Don't throw the whole fucking team under the bus. Pascal shot well. He shot 11 for 17. How much better do you want Pascal and Jakob to shoot? We didn't shoot well? I mean, I understand OG had his struggles too, but it's not we didn't shoot well. You have your leading shot taker didn't shoot
We're going
well.
to get by you, and I guess Nembhard had a really big night. And McConnell did what he does, right?
Yeah, those guys were trouble. I mean, Nembhard obviously at the start was big. We looked like we were moving a full step slow there. He was getting past us into the rim pretty easily. To start the game, we didn't put up much resistance at all. Maybe the first 9 to 12 possessions. I think at the first time out they were shooting 75% from the field. So that was a tough start. I thought we started doing some good things there in stretches, late in the first half, and a lot of stretches in the second. And then they made a bunch of big threes, I thought. I mean, we made them miss a bunch in a row there, but they hit 3 big threes late in the game that just kept letting them inch away from us, and we had probably the same looks or better and just couldn't answer back with them.
Did you like how Siakam shifted in the second half? Was more aggressive?
Well, he shifted towards the end of the first half, I thought, and play. I mean, like we're down a couple guys and missing some scoring and things like that, and you need Fred, Pascal, OG, our main guys to step up and play. And I didn't think Pascal was into the game early, but he certainly got going towards the end of the second half, and certainly most of the second half, yeah.
Will hasn't really found his rhythm since coming here a few weeks ago. Is it just a matter of the shots not falling? Like, what do you need from him, especially down a few bodies here?
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's getting some good open looks, and just like anybody, he's got to knock some of those down. We're creating good offense for him and others, right? We had a bunch of wide open threes tonight that I think he and other guys, need to step up and make to really be contributors. I thought he was fairly solid, and he plays the right way and all those kind of things. But yeah, he needs to get his legs under him here and make some of those.
Malachi got that extended run in the second half. What did you like from what he was able to do on both ends of the floor?
Yeah, well, he did a good job. Certainly checked in and made a couple threes, and those were big because we weren't making very many. I mean, we shot 20% for the game, so those were certainly important for us. And he worked pretty hard. He did a good job of chasing McConnell around, and McConnell pretty much made every shot there for a while, and then he started missing a few. So he played well.
With guys like Nembhard, like older college players, why do you think it is that they slip in the draft? Is it just people are always looking at the upside, but a steady guy like that is really valuable?
Yeah, I mean, I think that exactly what you said. I think the youth really gets drafted a lot, and the 4-year guys seem to go, drop further. I mean, we got a 4-year guy that didn't even get drafted, right? So I think that's pretty common.
Chris,
Kind of lets you know the world is about Fred VanVleet. Okay, I'm gonna just flash something for you guys because I've been talking about how bad, and then we're gonna get to Lane, our final caller. So I've been talking about how bad Will Barton has been. I haven't really gone too deep into it, but let me just flash this on the screen for you guys so you can sort of see it yourselves, because it's not even like he hasn't been okay. Like I don't understand this sort of kid gloves attitude. Are you intimidated by a journeyman veteran? Like what is your issue? Like just be like, he's been terrible for us, because that would be the accurate truth. Here, this is how terrible Will Barton has been so far for the Raptors. Just take a look. Sorry, I'm gonna pull this comment off the screen. So net rating, offensive rating 80. Just look at the career. We're scoring 80 points per 100 possessions with him on the court, giving up 115 points. That net rating is a negative 35. Okay. Per 100 possessions, he is scoring 9 points on 25% shooting from the field, 25% shooting from three. Okay. And he's foul. Like he has twice as many points as he has fouls. Okay. Like that's per 100 possessions. That's bad. Like there are like journeymen who average 30 points per 100 possessions. It's not crazy hard. Let me, well, maybe not 30 points per 100 possessions, but like 27, 28. So 9 is pretty bad for a guy who's had pretty much a green light. And this is the advanced stuff. For the Raptors, a negative 5.9 box plus minus. On offense, negative 6.3 box plus minus. He is actually posting for the first time in years a positive defensive box plus minus. Before the Raptors, he's been so aggressively bad. He's actually averaging negative win shares for the Raptors thus far. Again, negative 0.046 is so freaking bad. I can't even tell you. Per 100 it's insane. He has a 13% usage. I mean, like, honestly, these numbers are like, this is 32% true shooting, bro. Look at the career. This is about as bad as you can play in the NBA and still be in the NBA. So just putting it out there, man. Like y'all need to bench him, because this is not like some rookie. Like, it'd be different if you took, I don't know, I'm not saying you bring him in, but if you took in Josh Primo, like a rookie, you know, second-year player like that, and he was shooting this bad, and he had these numbers, okay, upside, youth, got to develop him, blah, blah, blah. If you were playing Delano Benton and he was playing like this, okay, youth, upside, blah, blah, blah. This is like a career veteran. He's supposed to be stabilizing your unit. And I think Jakob Poeltl is playing so well that there is an illusion that everyone who's playing with him is playing well. They're not. This guy's actually hurting you a lot. All right. Next up, Lane, and we're gonna close out the show with Lane. What's up, Lane?
What's up? How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Thanks for being patient.
Oh no, it's no worries at all. I appreciate you having me on. First point of the night. I feel like a freaking broken clock saying this, but like, I stay even keel on everybody, but it's just gotten to the point where I think Fred VanVleet is hurting Siakam and Scottie's offense so much. And you see it when he's playing. You see it like that first quarter. Now, granted, Siakam did miss 2 easy ones he should have had. But I mean, like, the dude doesn't get going till Fred's out of the game. I mean, the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth quarter, I think he had like
Raptors were beasting.
Exactly. He had like 7
well.
points in like 6 or 7 minutes, you know? I mean, he was going off. I mean, even when Fred came back in, he still stayed consistent in the fourth quarter and especially late in the game, which was great to see. But
yeah,
I mean, it's just insane. I mean, these are the games that make Fred. He's not terrible, but these are the games that show that he's just not that next level of a point guard. He's a mid-tier point guard.
Correct. If TJ McConnell ran your offense the way Fred VanVleet ran his offense, like, I think it would be very similar results. If you had done this for Patty Mills, I think you might have gotten similar results. There are physical limitations to this, man. It's a physics equation. Space, generation. I remember in that, you know, the video that I made about like revisiting my old take on Jakob Poeltl, one of the things that I said was that Kem and Fred have such great chemistry for a reason, because Kem frees up the space that Fred cannot create for himself. Now, other point guards like a Tyrese Halliburton or Steph Curry or John Morant are like really great point guards that we think about, even a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. These guys create space through skill. They can create space for themselves, right? Through their gravity, through their ball handling, through their, you know, athleticism, through their strides, through their, you know, physical advantages, they can create space. They don't rely on screens always. They'll take screens, but at times they can get their offense going without it. And those are the really special point guards, the ones who can do it without the screen.
Yeah.
You know, and to me, like, he's such a throwback in terms of he and Pascal. They're both very, very much like every time I watch a Raptors game where those two have like a major role in the offense, I feel like I'm watching something from the 90s every time. And it sucks. 90s basketball sucks. When it's going up against 2023 offense, it sucks.
Yeah, I just remember back to last year when Fred was predominantly out the last 25% of the season, where Scottie really made his Rookie of the Year case. I remember looking back at those analytics with Scottie and Siakam on the floor together. Yeah. I mean, they coexist perfectly. They really coexist perfectly. And if Scottie can take that next step, and I'm not saying it has to be next year because it doesn't, but in the next 2 to 3 years, he could really take that next step. I mean, this team will be damn good, but you have to have a point guard that's willing to only shoot the ball at maximum 12 times a game.
I don't agree with that. And I know some people have this idea that a point guard has to be, someone who passes the ball more than they shoot the ball or whatever. I don't have a problem with gunners as point guards. I'm not one of those people. I don't need my point guard to be John Stockton and Ricky Rubio. I don't need that at all. I need my point guard to be a consistently great decision maker with the basketball. I don't know if you watched the analytics episode yesterday, but in it I talked about the consequences of not doing the right thing and how that doesn't really show up in the analytics as much as it should. So, like today, Fred VanVleet has the ball on a 5-on-4 fast break, right? He does not pace it correctly. He dribbles too slow and he passes too late to a guy that he shouldn't pass to. He misses an open cutter and it's a turnover or they missed the shot or something, right? Now, in that situation, he makes the wrong play because he was the one who started the offense. If he doesn't start the offense, the offense is not predicated on him having to make the correct decision or getting past someone that he can't get past. And so the consequences of holding the ball so often, right? Like imagine if you ran all your fast breaks through Chris Boucher. You might never score a point, right? Like there's a reason why certain players handle the ball and certain players don't handle the ball that much. And it's because their specified skill sets and advantages allow them to unlock gaps. Like sometimes you watch Kobe Bryant sort of dribble, and you watch Pascal Siakam or Fred VanVleet dribble. These guys are not dribbling for the same reason. Kobe's waiting for an opening. Kobe's waiting for a mistake or an opening, and he's going to react, and he's looking the whole time. These guys are kind of just waiting they're gathering steam for what they've already decided they're going to do. And that's a big difference in terms of basketball.
Yeah.
Scottie's the same way too. And Jakob's the same way too. They just quick reads. They're always allowing the defense to dictate what's going to open up. And that just allows, your shooter who's open should expect to get the ball. If he's worked to get himself open and your offense has generated that open look for him, he needs to get the ball. If he doesn't get the ball, he falls out of rhythm. That's just how it works. The Indiana Pacers, I mean, what do you think of the Indiana Pacers? I'm sure you watch them quite a bit.
Yeah, especially them being in the Midwest and all. I have a few friends who are Pacers fans, and they're super excited for the future. They hated the Sabonis Halliburton trade at first. Mainly
what?
No, let me explain. So in the United States, media wise, there's you know how it goes. I mean, you were born here, but like we don't get West Coast news a lot. Like I'm a huge baseball fan, right? Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani. I don't get to see them other than highlights, right? We're blacked out. We're completely blacked out of our games. And so they didn't get to see. I mean, the only thing they knew about Halliburton was he was a top 10 pick, I believe he was.
12.
Yeah, he was the 12th pick, and played for Sacramento, and he was highly efficient, and that's all they knew about him. And so you trade Sabonis for him, which was their sold all-star, which actually he's having a hell of a year for Sacramento, but that was their sold all-star, and they hated it at first. But it's just the media here. That's all it is. I mean, I don't know too much about like Texas teams other than if I go search for it. I don't know much about West Coast teams if I don't go search for it, because the games are like blacked out here. Like Canada has it great with Sportsnet, because Sportsnet will play 3 games, it seems like of different teams on the same night. The only time I get to watch teams like the Kings and the Pelicans and all that is when they're on TNT and NBA TV. because of the blackouts. So that's just that issue. And to go back to also address what you said, I have no issue with the point guard taking a bunch of shots either. But I just feel like if the Raptors this summer are to retain both Gary Trent Jr. and Jakob Poeltl, we would have too many cooks in the kitchen. I know it feels that way right now. You have too many cooks in the kitchen, too many guys who deserve more shots and are sacrificing too much. Like tonight, for example, Siakam should have taken probably about 5-6 more shots away from Fred.
Easily.
And make or miss, they would have been better looks.
I just didn't like the energy that he approached the game with to start.
Neither do I. But I think
the second quarter was abysmal. I think for until it was late in the second, and then in the third, I think he showed up. And again in the fourth, he couldn't close. Like he couldn't quite get it going. He couldn't get them. Like I think he got one and one. But yeah, you need more from him on a night where you don't have Gary, you don't have Scottie. That's basically replacing like 35 points.
Exactly.
You know,
I agree.
like you need more from your franchise guy. This is the type of night where if you had a Joel Embiid as opposed to a Pascal Siakam, this is the night he's going for 40, right? He's going to say, run the offense through me. We don't have Scottie. We don't have Gary. Those are two of our top 5, top 6 guys. So let's run the offense through me. But that's the problem, right? Fred's tougher than Pascal mentally. He's got that sort of like, it's on me, attitude. He's more confident, right? And sometimes confidence can be, what is the quote? It's
Confidence
the
kill you.
no. It was good. It was confidence is the, oh man, something of the wise man, but the liquor of the fool.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and so, yeah, it's a quote from The Office actually, from Vikram from The Office. It's it's going to drive me crazy, but yeah, it's something of the wise man, but the liquor of the fool, and the concept there is basically that confidence can kill you, or it can help you if there's a element of wisdom to it, and the self-awareness component that goes into it. Fred needs to look at this roster and say OG and Scottie and Pascal are better first options, second options than me. And so he would be wise to embody the same mentality that Jakob has, which is I'll take what the defense gives, right?
Right.
And that's what Jakob's doing. Jakob's not forcing anything. I don't think he's forced a single shot since he's been here.
Nope.
Right?
He's great.
So yeah, exactly. He doesn't force shots. Scottie does not force shots. OG, for the most part, takes what the defense gives him. And Gary, actually, this year, in my opinion, even though sometimes you'll see him take 16, 17 shots, I don't think they're forced shots. For the most part, I think his shot selection's gotten better.
Gary has a role, and his role to go in there is you always watch. He takes 2 or 3 those mid-range turnaround shots when he first gets in. And I think that's his way of getting himself going. Because there's a few games, and I swear, just remember this next time you see it, where if he doesn't do that, he can't knock down wide open threes. Like I remember multiple times where they'll just like shove him back in the game. This is when he first went to the bench back in December-ish, I believe, and they would just bring him back into the game, rush him back in, and it'd be like middle of the third quarter, and we'd have a fast break, and Scottie or Pascal, run down the court. Gary goes to the corner of the wing. They dish it out, and he would just brick a wide open three. And I remember those. I mean, as a coach, you just think those are momentum. Like that's momentum changing. Like that's a swing there, because if the other team goes down and scores a 2 or a 3, that's a 5 or a 6 point swing you could possibly have right there. And I don't know. That's why I really don't like him on the bench. In my opinion, I think he's a better starter. Even though he does have some electric games off the bench, he's so much more consistent in the starting lineup, and he's so much better with better players around him. He will get you buckets. I mean, he's just a hooper regardless. I mean, Columbus, Ohio represent. But I mean, I just love him in the starting lineup. I think that when he's playing with better players, it maximizes his own potential.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I mean, look, like I think for tertiary, fourth options, second options guys, the shooting has to be there. The off-ball movement has to be there. If you're going to be a second or third option, if you're going to be anything but a primary, you have to be able to move without the basketball and provide something else other than shooting and dribbling. And yeah, I think Gary, OG, like I'm excited about this core, man. Like I like this team for the most part. It's just, one too much and playing the wrong way, consistently playing the wrong way.
Yep.
in my opinion.
Yep. It's insane to watch how winnable of a game this was. And once they checked,
It's crazy to hear them talking about Andrew Nembhard and Ben Mathurin like they're talking about Stephen Clay or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But obviously, if like here's something is kind of a random parallel to this, but I guess this show is all about random parallels and tangents. When we were younger, my grandfather is about 5'6", 5'7", right?
Mhm.
So we would gas ourselves up and say he was 5'10",
Mhm.
right? So when we became taller than him, then we were 5'10", right? Now he may have been 5'10" at some point in his life, but he had shrunken considerably.
Right.
It did not help us at any point to ignore the reality that he had shrunken 2 inches in his old age. But we kept insisting that he was 5'10", and that the fact that we were taller than him means that we are now 5'10". And this false measuring stick helped soothe the ego, right? Like, it's just sort of like what people do when they don't want to admit the truth is they lie to themselves. And so Andrew Nembhard is so much easier to be dishonest and disingenuous about this and just say we just couldn't stop their guards. They were too dynamic. We were a step slow. We couldn't. Once they got it going, we couldn't turn it off. These are the ignoring the obvious. And the obvious is we had a team that was super young. They came in on the road. They're not a very good team. They're even worse when they don't have their best player. I don't hear that comment coming up. And they play a better brand of basketball that produces better shots than we do.
Yep.
They are more efficient than we are. They play more as a team than we do. I want one Raptor to just say that because I know they think it. I know Scottie thinks this. I know, there are guys on this team that probably think this. Why won't they say it? Say it. Say it. Just say it once. Just say it once so it's out there. Say it once so I don't have to look crazy on the internet every day and, have people, hating on me. Just say it. Just be honest about it. Be real about it. Don't cloak it. Like Masai, you're saying sometimes we've been a little too individual. That's too soft.
Yeah.
That's too soft. A little too individual is an understatement. More is required until the message is hammered home that this is not Raptors basketball.
Nope.
Defense and chucking is not Raptors basketball, and I wish defense was a part of the equation right now. It's really not. 55, 56% against a team that's starting 2 rookies. How do you do this?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I was just thinking all night, if you swap Gary for Fred, I think we win this game. You swap Scottie for Fred, I think we win this game. I mean,
Jeff Dowtin for Fred.
Yeah, okay. Jeff Dowtin now only has 6 more games left on his 2-way, whatever the heck the stipulation is. So if we were going to use him tonight, we should have used him for way more than 6 minutes.
I think Malachi Flynn played well.
I
was upset that Jeff Dowtin didn't get more minutes, but
no, I agree.
I'm just because I'm the captain of the Jeff Dowtin fan club doesn't mean that I'm going to be ignorant about the fact that Malachi Flynn played very well in the minutes that he had.
And I 100% agree. But Will Barton got 23.
Ridiculous. And he got the start. Got the start.
Yeah, I mean,
this is not. You watch that clip of Steph Curry bullying Chris Paul?
Yes. We made him touch Earth. Yeah.
Yeah, and he screams at him, "It's not 2014 anymore."
Yes.
Yeah, Nick Nurse, it's not 2018 anymore. Will Barton is no longer a good NBA player. You need to chill. Starting this dude is crazy.
Yeah,
he was waived by a lottery team that's still trying to win. Like, think about that.
I wasn't against the pickup per se for Will Barton himself. Now, obviously, like if it's Jeff Dowtin or Will Barton, I'm picking Jeff Dowtin every time. However, per se, I was not against the pickup, but I was under the impression he was going to come here and play maybe 8 minutes a game kind of thing, just spot up in the corner. But then they got Nick Nurse in a press conference talking about, that's our backup point guard. Like, what? Our backup point guard is a guy who's never played point guard before, and the best thing he's known for at this point in his career is spotting up in the corner and maybe the occasional run and dunk. I mean,
taking the one guy in your lineup who has some shooting gravity off the bench, or 2 guys, 3 guys, 4 guys. There's 4 guys on this team that have like actual shooting gravity on the bench that get minutes, and putting them into the ball handler role is so stupid because they are needed off the ball.
Yeah.
They are definitely needed off the ball in order to create space for others. Um, I haven't really seen him run point anymore since that comment than he was already. I was already seeing him initiate the offense a little bit.
Mhm.
What have you noticed? You seeing him play point more?
Not today.
Yeah. So I mean, what was all that about? I think it's just
Yeah.
all to get a reaction out of people. I think he has some guard skills. I think his passer rating is solid. He's fluid-ish. He's not very good. I don't know how else to say it. He looks like he should be good, right? He kind of looks like a guy who should be really great at basketball. He's
He
long, he's wiry, he has a smooth shot. He's just not very good.
Yeah, I feel like we expected. I mean, not. I don't think we expected the world out of the guy, but I for one at least expected him to come here and be like a 35% 3-point shooter.
He's shooting 38% on the year.
Exactly, like at least minimum, and I don't know. It's tough when he's not even that. And
How many Raptors are going to be out of the league next year? That's what I want to know.
Oh,
if
it's
we
gonna be like,
if we waive Thaddeus Young,
it's gonna
like,
be like
how is Thad not playing right now? I mean, how bad is it that you've got Will Barton starting, you've got Malachi Flynn playing 18 minutes, you've got Jeff Dowtin, a two-way guy, playing, and Thad still can't get minutes. You got Scottie and Precious out, and Thaddeus Young gets a DMPCD. Is that where we're at with Thad now? That he's just unplayable. Like, we would have to get a COVID outbreak, or like half the team has to like miss games with injuries for this guy to even sniff a minute. And I'm not saying you should play him. I'm just observing that he's not playing. Because that's crazy.
I mean, that's a terrible. I mean, trading the first round pick looked bad enough.
Consider how high the Raptors were on Andrew Nembhard.
Yeah.
This game. But by the way, I started on this thought and then I just completely stopped short. This game is a reminder of everything that the Raptors front office has gotten wrong over the last couple of years.
Yep.
Boucher, Brissett, Ben Mathurin.
Yep.
They were interested in Ben Mathurin. They were interested in Shaedon Sharpe. They were interested in Dyson Daniels. That trio. Now, granted, I'm not suggesting that I would be happy about that, but apparently there was talks of the number 7 pick, OG Anunoby. That deal was there.
Mm-hmm.
And these were the players that were being looked at very seriously. Okay, Andrew Nembhard, the player that you probably were targeting. I heard rumors like as early as 3 months prior to the draft that they were really high on him. They worked him out. They liked him, right? So this kind of big playmaker is exactly what they wanted. This is what they were trying to draft when they drafted Delano Banton. This is what they were trying to draft when they drafted David Johnson. Just this is one guy who's really worked out. Why has he worked out? Is there some special sauce in Indiana? Is it possibly a system that, allows a player like this to thrive? And then sometimes I look at guys like David Johnson or Delano Banton and I ask myself, if they had been drafted into a situation which was just better for them, better for basketball, like could we be talking about Delano Banton in the same light that we're talking about Herb Jones or something like that? And I don't think it's crazy to say. I don't think it's that crazy to say. I mean, he flashed quite a bit of potential last year. He was the featured guy on your summer league team.
Yep.
He didn't dress today.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think this team better start looking itself in the mirror and saying, look, this season, you lose focus. Everything becomes about the play-in, and then you realize there's going to be life beyond the play-in. These players are going to have to develop. And if they're not going to develop, like, what are you doing? This is what we consider like development reps, currency. Every roster spot, is currency. It's not only are you paying money to have these players on your roster, but you're also like wasting development hours on these players. You're developing this prospect over some other prospect. You have this guy on your team as opposed to, one of 100 other guys playing in the EuroLeague who probably hit a jump shot that you don't have on your team, right? And so you have to do something for these guys that you can say they're tangibly getting better in some way. And I'm with Scottie out, Precious out, Gary out, this is a game. This is a game to see what you have in Jeff Dowtin. I don't understand the concept of starting Will Barton.
Yeah.
You could argue maybe you didn't want to start a backcourt of Will Barton and you want to start a backcourt of 2 point guards, right? But I don't think Jeff Dowtin's a worse defender than Will Barton.
Oh heck no, heck no. I mean I don't criticize the start of Will Barton, but I don't understand playing him more than 15 minutes a game. You know what I mean?
You
Like
mean like he would have been a ceremonial starter
yeah,
just because he has some chemistry with that team?
something like that. I don't know, because obviously the obvious option tonight is put. I mean, if you're saying screw lineups and everything, you put Chris Boucher in because he's got the most experience with him. But he's always been the bench guy, 6 man, I guess you could say, quote unquote. And
Yeah,
then
actually.
for whatever
Okay.
reason,
So I
and
mean, if you were willing to just abandon the idea of Pascal and Jakob starting 4-5,
Mhm.
yeah, you could easily move Pascal to 3, OG to 2, Fred to 1, and
yeah,
probably start another big,
yeah.
um, like maybe a big wing. Who would you start? Like who would you have started?
Out of everyone healthy tonight.
Ad?
Oh, I mean, yeah. If you're gonna play him 15 minutes a game, like they should have played Barton tonight, yeah. I mean, why
Dude,
not?
Thaddeus Young is not worse than Will Barton.
He's not.
He's worse for spacing, but he is better at other things than Will
Thaddeus Young,
Barton.
Thaddeus Young does all the little things for you.
Hmm.
I hate to say it because he's not Kyle Lowry, but it kind of gives you like a Kyle Lowry presence in a way. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he affects the game like Kyle Lowry at all. But he just has that, and not every vet has it, right? So it's
You know
not,
who I would have started? Joe
Who?
Wieskamp.
yeah, space the floor some more.
Space the fucking floor. Give this kid like a big shot.
Why didn't he play tonight? Where was he?
Exactly.
Oh my god! I mean, it's so crazy to think about because I remember watching those 16, 17, 18 teams,
Mhm.
and we were what, top 3 in the East every one of those years, and one of them we were number 1 in the East. And the crazy thing was every year we had guys playing meaningful minutes that were rookies or second year players,
Right.
or in Fred VanVleet's case, undrafted. And it just seems like since I don't know, everyone goes back to this, but like since Tampa, that's just kind of gone away. It really has kind of gone away. I don't know if we're just not getting lucky on bringing guys in. I don't know if, other than Scottie Barnes, we just forgot how to draft prospects, or if we're just
I
not
like
developing.
Christian Koloko, man. I like Christian Koloko. I like Precious Achiuwa. I think
Yep.
Banton's got potential. I liked
So do-
David
so do I.
Johnson. You know,
So do I.
these are, sometimes you draft a player and you're like, ugh, this guy doesn't have a chance in hell, right? But like with how much talent there is in the world and population exploding or whatever, I now see like early second rounders, like mid second rounders, like I used to look at late first rounders way back in the day. And so, yeah, it's possible to find a Clint Capella, Serge Ibaka level talent at the top of the second instead of the end of the first now.
Right.
You know, the talent is widening, you know? And so these draft picks have to be re-perspectivized from that element, that it's no longer like a crapshoot. Like I talk to GMs who say, okay, well, after pick 10, it's like a 10% shot that you're going to get. Like it's a 1 in 10 shot that you're going to get a starter level impact player. I don't think that's the case.
Yep.
I don't think that's the case. Like look at this past draft.
Yep.
AJ Griffin is going to be a starter at some point. Definitely. There's plenty of guys. Walker Kessler is already a starter.
Thank you.
Like look at the draft. Like I mean, if we just look back at the 2022 draft, how many guys would you say, based on what you've seen so far, are projectable starters?
Yeah, it's a crazy amount. And the crazy thing to me is, if you remember, and obviously he didn't stay in the starting role, but at the beginning of the 2017 season, you know who was our starting power forward? The first like 10 games.
2017?
20 yes, I believe so. Yes. 2017,
Was
2018.
it Jared Sullinger?
Wait. Was it 16, 17 or 17, 18? It wasn't. It was okay, it was 16, 17. 16, 17.
Luis Scola?
Pascal Siakam.
Oh, 16, 17. Yes,
Yep.
he was. Yes, but
First 10
he didn't start all the games.
No, he started the first 10, and then they sent him down to the G League. And,
Who started in his place?
Oh, who came back in? Oh gosh, that was so long ago. I couldn't even tell you. I just remember Pascal started the first 10. But could you imagine if today's team had the 27th pick of the draft starting in the top 5? I mean, I feel like that's like.
We did.
So,
we had the 33rd pick starting for us.
No, you're right.
Christian Koloko started.
No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yep, you're right. I do remember that. And then we banished him.
Yeah, and I mean he's getting minutes again. I don't know. I like him.
Right.
I like him. I'm gonna stay with my A on that draft
Yep.
grade. Like I really like him.
I like him
So
too.
here's he's mobile, you know, like he's a mobile big. So here's the first round. Wait, I'm gonna have to pull this comment off so we can see it. So apart from the 30th pick, which is Peyton Watson, that's pretty much everybody. So of these guys, who's a projectable starter in the first round? Paolo, yes. Chet, yes. Jabari, yes. Keegan, yes. Jaden, yes. Benedict, yes. Shaden, maybe. Dyson, yes. Jeremy Sohan, yes. Johnny Davis, no. Jang, no. Jalen Williams, yes.
Jalen Duren, probably in a few years.
Probably in a few years. Abaji, I think he will eventually be a starter level player, to be honest. I love him. Mark Williams, maybe. AJ Griffin, yes. Tari Eason, yes. Dalen Terry, I don't know. Walker Kessler, it's looking like a good one. Beauchamp looks good. You know, Jovic has flash potential. Patrick Baldwin, a pick that I absolutely slammed and hated. He's been good. And then you look at the 2020, you know, look at the second round. You've got like quite a few guys coming in from there too, you know? So like Christian Coloco, Andrew Nembhard, like I mean Jalen Williams, the other Jalen Williams, Jay Will, like so I mean shit, like there's some good guys here, right? Like and we'll see what the undrafted heap returns. But you could legitimately be looking on draft with like 30 NBA players. That's big.
Yep.
That's big. Like 30 NBA players, but I mean like NBA players as in guys who actually stick around in the league for like 3-4 years minimum, right? Because the way this works, in my opinion, with prospects is you come on, like you basically, and here's how it works. If you're great at one thing, you can stay in the league.
Yep.
The 1 year you were no longer great at one thing, you can no longer be in the league. That's how it used to work. So you used to have a guy who could stand corners and shoot threes. He was in the league. So Steve Novak, he could be in the league just because he can shoot. Steve Novak cannot play in the NBA anymore because you can't just be good at one thing anymore. You actually have to be great at one thing, and you have to be pretty okay at a lot of other things to have a spot in the league, right? And it has to be one thing that's actually valuable, not like and typically offense, right? And so defensive specialists like Thabo Cephalosha, if you remember that guy, like guys like that, like Matisse Thybulle, right? Like the guys like this are fringy right now, which is crazy to me, right? But there's so many guys out there that if they don't have like a definitive offensive role, that's something they can really, really do on the offensive end. There's so much talent in the world, you can't even stick in the league. So the Raptors really need to consider how A, they're developing, but B, how they're using those roster spots.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, Lane, thanks a lot for calling in as always, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. I know you're doing your scouting for draft guys, and it looks like we're going to pick 13, 14 spot. I don't see us getting into the playoffs. But look at Bryce Sensabaugh some. I may be biased because he's an Ohio State guy. But look at Bryce Sensabaugh, 6'6", small forward, 3-level scorer. Defense has a little bit to be desired as of right now, but he's got the wingspan, he's got the height. He fits Raptors basketball. He's like a better Justin Champagnie. Let me put it that way.
Justin Champagnie.
A lot better.
Over Rayon Rupert? I don't think so. No, that's not going to happen. I honestly, maybe I'm being too dismissive of this. I will definitely check it out. You're saying it, so I will check it out. Can you say the name again?
Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah, I've seen him. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll watch some tape if you and if you want to discuss this again, we'll discuss this after.
I'm just a biased Ohio State guy. So I'm just trying to put my word out there. Malachi Branham, I wish we would have took him. Instead, we traded our pick. The Spurs took him. He's like.
Are you still crying Greg Oden-sized tears?
He wouldn't have been generational, but he would have been a damn good player if he stayed healthy.
He was a good player. He was a really good player.
He was.
Yeah. All right, man.
My fault. All right, I'll talk to you later. Have a great night.
Cheers. Have a good one. And coming up next, right after this break, and I have to take a break because I drank way too much water and I need to go to the washroom now and take a break. But right after the break, we're going to have Coach Mo, who, if I recall correctly, went to the game tonight. Oh, no. Oh, man, if you thought I was angry. All right. So, and honestly, Coach Mo, I know you're watching backstage, and I'm sure the chat is going to love hearing from you. So please hang tight for 1 minute. But I do want to say that when I heard that Scottie was out and Tyrese was out, I was like, oh no, Coach Mo, get him a refund. I felt so bad. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say. Just going to take a 2 minute break. If anyone needs to take a break, go to the washroom, whatever. We're at 12:30 in the morning, but you know we don't quit. So we're going to keep it going. My bad, y'all. I kicked myself out of the chat. My bad. I'm just gonna leave this on the screen. Oh, whoa, yo. I got big news. Big news for the 155 of you who stayed late. You know these chats sometimes have some gems towards the end. I got an email. You know, I made an entire video calling out somebody for, what I considered fake sponsorships and whatever. I got an email from a huge sponsor. They sponsor the NBA. And I don't know if I'm going to go with it because I don't know how many sponsors I can possibly add to the card or whatever. Or if I want to do like one sponsorship and one thing and another thing. But I feel like I want to share this with you guys. Not saying like, yo, like I got paid or whatever. Nothing like that. It's just one of those things where I know that they're watching these lives and seeing this community and this engagement and saying this is something. So really, I feel like we're getting a sponsorship. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. So thank you guys for watching the videos and checking out the lives and subscribing and all that stuff, because it's really like it's creating waves and it's allowing me to do this and actually get paid. And I really appreciate you guys letting me do that, because there's a lot of work that goes into this stuff. I get messages from people saying, yo, you look so tired, take care of yourself. I am tired. Sometimes I am tired. Even right now I'm a little bit tired, but this is important. So if it's important, we're going to do it. We're going to do it right. So hang tight. I'll be back. Speaking of sponsors, brief moment. I'm going to flash this on. QAG, thank you so much for sponsoring this video and, helping me put food on the table. I really appreciate y'all. If you need a car guy in your life, look, you sometimes use cars, you don't know who to trust. Trust QAG. They got you covered. They're going to get you the great deal. I asked them, like, what is it that you guys can do for our audience? They said, we can give them peace of mind. And I think that's a pretty big deal. Nobody wants to be going through, and we can simplify the process. So, if you just, and I even asked them, I was like, yo, like, if, let's just say, for instance, I call you and I say, hey, I'm selling my car. I'm looking to get this money on my car, whatever. How can I, and you help me find a good deal. Help me find a good buyer for it. How are you benefiting from that? And it's like, we don't need anything back from that. We just, the contact, the discussion. And I was like, yo, this is a crazy, crazy thing you guys are offering, because most people have this mentality of like, you're going to buy from me, you're going to fuck off, right? I'm not helping you if you're not helping me, you're not paying me, but these guys are just there for you. And I think that's a really cool thing. And I tell you, like, my real estate agent, the one that I had in 2008, I stuck with this guy forever. His name's Ara. And if he ever ends up watching this, shout outs to Ara. And this dude took me from place to place to place, and he stuck with me. He never made me feel like I was just a dollar sign to him. And that meant a lot to me, because I was a kid and I was like working through it the first time. I was very intimidated. People weren't taking me seriously. They would look at me and they'd be like, oh, you're 18, 19 years old. You're trying to buy this is a scam. He doesn't have the money. He's not good for it. And he took me seriously when other people didn't. And I really appreciated that. So there's a human component to this. And that's why I'm saying QAG are your guys. So if you have a car, you're looking to buy a car, you're looking to sell a car, give them a call, give them a shout. Check the affiliate link in the description below. You're going to be hearing a lot about them from a lot of other Raptor creators that you respect and follow. I guarantee it. I'm going to be back in 1 minute, and we're going to hear from Coach Mo. Coach Mo, what's up?
Hey,
How's it going? How was the game?
honestly, the game, I didn't get to see much of it because we took a bunch of kids to the game, so it was a lot of babysitting.
Oh no.
But
Kids are great though, eh?
kids, yeah, oh my God, kids, you can't have 30 of them at the same time. That you can't do. But I knew 100%. I don't bet, but when we got within 6 minutes and the game was tight, I bet like 500 we'd lose. Like I just know we're gonna lose. Gary's not there, and Barnes isn't there. Our two clutchest players, in my opinion, weren't there. Guaranteed loss. Fred and Pascal taking us home? Yeah, that's not happening. You can bet everything they're not going to get it done.
Close game in the fourth quarter. Raptors 28th ranked offense in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Yeah, the it speaks for itself. Look, I have watched the Indiana Pacers, and this was one of the better fourth quarter teams for most of the year. They really had this incredible composure down the stretch, and they play so together. They're such a joy to watch, man. I know that Tyrese Halliburton didn't play, and I felt bad for you because it's such a treat to watch him
Yeah,
live. I
yeah.
have watched him live once for the Kings. He's such an incredible player. My boy Leo, he messaged me and he said Raptors better cover. And I just saw that message right now and I was just like laughing. I was just like, oh, poor Leo. He bet on the Raptors again. I
Yeah.
don't think Leo's ever bet successfully on the Raptors ever.
And,
Tough.
you know, I watched Nembhard do that like side step three to like seal it, and
Clutch.
it's like it's crazy that our two best players can't even do that. He shot that shot, like he did that side step, and you're like, my God, that was pure. That was like, you know what I mean? That's like we can't beat a lottery team
Without their best player who's
without their best
actually like
player.
a
Fred and
legit
Pascal
superstar.
can't beat a lottery team without their best player. Let that sink in. Masai, are you watching? If
Yeah.
those two guys left today, this team isn't any worse. I swear to God, they're not any worse.
I think Pascal played okay today down the stretch, right? Like, I mean, in the third quarter, I think he had a good game. I need more from him early on to set the tone, and I need more from him late. Can't be doing the middle of the game. You're not a role player, right? Like, I mean, you are a role player technically, but I mean, on this team, they think you're a superstar, so do superstar things, right?
He can't. That's why I'm opposed to him being like. That's why I want him to be traded because I just don't think he's worth a max slot. I just don't think he's worth it.
Okay, now I have to ask you a very pressing and important question. Okay. Did you, prior to taking children, impressionable young children to this game, let them know that everything they are about to see is an act of violence against the game of basketball and that they should never, ever attempt this on a basketball court?
They're too busy annoying each other.
Okay. Because I feel like as a responsible adult, if you're
Yeah.
bringing impressionable young minds to a Raptors game, you must caution them that what they are watching is not basketball. It's Moneyball. It's not even Moneyball. Moneyball is evolved. It's Freddo ball. I don't know what it is. It's
Rob, are you familiar with the clown makeup meme?
yeah.
Okay, we need a Nick Nurse clown makeup meme because this dude, I don't know what he's doing. I couldn't believe Barton starting. I was like, wow, okay, and he shoots like 1 for 8, and it's like, okay. I swear, man, I've said this to someone, and I'm like, if Nick Nurse fell down a flight of stairs, Jeff Dowtin would just step over him. Flynn would just step over him. They wouldn't. If he raised his hand and said, "Could you guys help me up?" He's like, "Nope. Ask your boy Barton. Ask your boy Fred. Ask your boy Pascal." None of these guys like him. His rotation, it's like. And I heard you talk about Thad. Where's Thad? Why not today? But
I think it's just the
like a month ago-
spacing,
like
the
a month ago-
spacing issues with that and Jakob together. But I would be okay like I would be okay with him being sort of a small ball center for you. But I think offensive rebounding kind of gets you in the game. Like there was a couple of plays where I swear to God, it was so funny. The timing of it. Sometimes timing is everything in life when it comes to comedy. And you got Alvin Williams, you were deprived of the joy of listening to Alvin Williams completely lose his mind. I swear to God, this guy's senile. He's not old enough to be senile, but he sounds senile sometimes. He just goes off on tangents and he has no idea what he's talking about. And he said the most senile thing I think I've ever heard anyone say, which is that Tyrese Halliburton and Fred VanVleet are close. He's like, it's like Fred VanVleet. It's just like Fred VanVleet. It's kind of like a guy like Fred VanVleet. And I was like, oh my
It's
God,
always a
here we
point
go.
guard matchup. It's Fred versus Drew. It's Fred versus Lillard. It's Fred versus Kyrie. You know how they do it.
It's exactly.
They don't even feature Pascal like that. They don't even feature our All NBA guy like that. That's the weird part.
Yeah, it's like he got him he got a promise on the down low, like, hey yo, if I get paid, I'm gonna give you this, I'm gonna give you that. Just talk big about me, just so everyone who watches the game thinks I'm all that, and I'm not, you know. And look, it's funny because Alvin Williams is the most frustrating point guard I watched in my youth. I hated watching this guy play. I hated it. I was like, God damn it, get Vince like a really good point guard. I was very happy the year they got Mark Jackson because I thought, here's a great point guard. I was happy with Skip to Malou. I loved Skip to Malou. Loved him. I loved Rafer Alston. I liked Rafer Alston. I liked Rod Strickland. There's a lot of point guards in Raptors history that I've really liked. TJ Ford. I liked TJ Ford
Calderon
a lot.
minus the really bad defense.
Ole defense.
Yeah.
Calderon was all right.
That jumper
like,
was
I liked him.
That jumper was wet. That jumper was wet.
The jumper was sick, and the basketball was gross.
Yeah.
And then there was Kyle Lowry, DeLon Wright. Like, I've liked a lot of point guards in Raptors history, and I've just had a disdain. And listening to Alvin Williams gloat about Fred VanVleet, gush over Fred VanVleet, I'm just like, no wonder I hated
22 shots tonight. 22 shots tonight.
And, there was a caller earlier, SGE, who brought it up. He's like, look how many times he got to the line. Refs kind of bailed him out on a few of those. And I agree. There was a couple where it was just like...
He took 22 attempts. Rob, he took 22 attempts and 12 free throws.
I know.
Like my God. He shot 12 threes like he's Steph Curry or Damian Lillard.
And then he has the nerve to say in the post game, we couldn't hit shots. It's like, no, you couldn't hit shots. You and OG, basically. And I mean, like, tough night for OG, but I think he took the right shots. I don't know. Maybe it's my own favoritism coming in. I think he guarded as well as he could. Like, I mean, he's not going to be able to stop Miles Turner like 3 feet from the basket. He's just too big.
What warms my heart is that they can't blame Scottie for this game. They can't blame Scottie for the last fourth quarter mess up, and they can't blame Scottie for today's fourth quarter meltdown. They can't blame Achiuwa. They can't blame Gary. Maybe they can pin this on, I don't know. Who can they pin this on?
They can't. They can't pin this on anybody, and that's the whole point. They can't. They have to look at themselves now. And it's almost like, honestly, if I was on this team, I would have staged a mutiny like 6 months ago, 3 months ago. I would have been like, we are all going to sit out at the same time against a really bad team, and we're going to allow these people to expose themselves, right? Because
the young guys are going to unionize. The young guys are unionizing.
They need to unionize.
And they say, go. You two are the franchise guys. Beat a lottery team without its best player. Go ahead. And I literally sit on the bench and laugh. Here comes crunch time. Here comes crunch time. I tap my buddy on the knee. Here comes crunch time. Me, I could get toxic. I'll get toxic. I'm like, I just start laughing. Siakam, Spicy P, clutch time. Let's go. Beyblade, do your spins. I'm not going to play behind. I don't like playing behind guys who I know have no heart, who get scared. Like, it bothers me to my core. Now, if I was getting paid millions of dollars to watch a guy melt down in every fourth quarter, I guess I could live with that.
You don't think they have heart? I think they do.
There's levels to heart, but
I think they lack awareness.
Maybe heart is the wrong word. Maybe heart's the wrong word.
I was trying to think of something positive to say about Pascal and Fred, and because some people.
Fred has heart. Fred has heart. Fred has heart. Fred, he's going in there. You chip his tooth. He just tosses it to the side and keeps playing. No, Fred has heart. It's just toughness. He's like 5'10" and
tough.
He's quick.
Tough. He's tough.
Yeah.
What's crazy? I watched Fred VanVleet stand next to Javon Carter, and he made him look small. Like, he was bigger than Javon Carter. That was weird to see.
Vertically?
So Taller. Yeah, he was taller and
Wow.
bigger and stronger. Like he looked like a huge human being standing next to Javon Carter. I saw him. I was like, is
Oh,
he wearing lifts or is Javon Carter like 5'10"? This is weird.
random thought. Nembhard and Matherin wouldn't be as good as they are or showcasing having a night like tonight on the Raptors because the powers that be just wouldn't allow it. So
It's difficult to say what Andrew Nembhard would have become had he ended up falling a couple spots and ended up being in the Raptors. I'm positive they would have drafted him. I'm just so positive. He
And what would
fits
they have done with him?
everything. That's exactly it, right? What would you have done with him? Because like you have Jeff Dowtin Jr. who is outplaying Scoot Henderson in a G League game and he can't get 6 minutes.
No.
You know, he can't get his contract converted because we're too excited about Will fucking Barton. And, you know, maybe Nembhard would have, you know, succumbed to the same fate as all the other backup point guards who've tried to be backup point guard for Fred, which is Malachi, Delano, you know, Jeff Dowtin, whoever, you know, Goran Dragic, whoever. Like, it's just nothing works. Nothing works behind Fred. It's like a black hole, right? Sucks everything into it. Yeah, I think, like, I don't know if he's going to be on this team next year. I really don't. I hope not. I pray not. I'll pray. I'll pray at night. I'll send out my prayers.
It's just crazy, Rob, that the guys that played major roles on a championship team can't close a lottery team. Like it's absolutely insane.
But they weren't closers for that team.
These guys are like 29. These guys should
closing
be like,
is a skill.
These guys should be seasoned vets. And Nembhard is more savvy, more like it's crazy. Like this is insane. Fred was making big shots in the finals. Now again, that's why I always preface by saying those guys were not decision makers at all. They were, you know what I mean?
Rookies are rookies, yo. Like Ben Mathurin and Andrew Nembhard made a ton of mistakes tonight, and yet their mistakes were that of inexperience. They weren't that of selfishness or a corrupted way of playing basketball. You can tell, like Andrew Nembhard, a couple times he left his feet to make a pass, right? One time it worked out, one time it didn't. Like things like that, where I'm like, okay, by next year he's going to figure this out. And in the NBA, you know, this old shit that used to work in AAU doesn't work here. Okay, right? But you're not talking about some high lottery pick like Paolo Banchero came in and, you know, did this to you. No, you're talking about a second rounder. Now, I'm not gonna go 180 on what I said yesterday about, you know, how different picks or different drafts, whatever. I don't think second rounder means anything. But let's be honest. If you have 2 all-stars and they have 0 all-stars, you have a, you know, perennial or not perennial, but a DPOY candidate and they don't have that, or if you consider Miles Turner that, I mean, really, there's a reason why Vegas gave you 4-1 odds. You were supposed to win this game. It's inexcusable to lose this game. And it would be inexcusable to lose this game if you were on pace for 48 wins. This would be one that got away.
Yeah.
But with your season on the line, you know, really on the line, where every single win matters, to piss this away feels very wrong.
And this is why I just can't justify giving Siakam a max where he head and shoulders should have been the best player.
Yeah.
Those last 6 minutes, head and shoulders. If
And
he
he
can't
wasn't.
be the best player in these last 6 minutes,
Who was the
I'm
best
not giving
player?
you a max. I can't do it
Who was the best player for you?
tonight. Nembhard.
Agreed. That dude has stage presence, man. He has so much stage presence. Just such a really solid. I don't rate Gonzaga project. Pardon?
Remember that game winner against the Lakers?
Yes. Game winner against the Lakers. Closed out the Warriors on the road. Like, he's putting together... He should be all first team rookie, all second team. Easy. Like, his high moments are so great.
And again, he wouldn't be getting those opportunities because those would be going to like Fred or Pascal or Gary or something, right? He wouldn't get those opportunities. They passed it to him because he was wide open. There was miscommunication and
it's the Jeremy Lin effect. It's the Jeremy Lin effect, man. Like you realize as a primary ball handler in the NBA how easy it is to score 20 points if you're even halfway decent as a shooter. It's just most guys don't get that shot. You don't give Malachi Flynn 17, 18 screens to roll off of every single
No,
game.
no,
If you
no.
did, he would score 20 points too. Shit. Like, there are guys who are not in the NBA right now who could probably score 20 points in the NBA if you give them the opportunity to do so.
Meaning, if you give them the opportunities and the usage Fred gets, and the time with
Correct.
possession, yeah, it's
Correct.
half
I
the
mean,
guards can do
shit,
it.
like
Half the guards.
Killian Hayes, who's honestly, I don't know if that guy's a basketball player. At times, he can score 20 points. Like, he's terrible.
Especially with the screens Yak is setting.
Yeah, and I mean, like, he's doing
And
this
if you
with
give Yak a
fucking
half decent pass, you're getting an assist. If you give him a half decent pass, it's 50-50, you get an assist.
yeah, exactly, because he's always in the right place. He's rolling. Like, it's not complicated. And
No, it's
honestly,
not.
if you switch Fred VanVleet to, here's a crazy thought for you. Let's say prior to the game, we ignored all details and the refs are blind and they didn't notice and the Raptors decided to pull a switcheroo. Let's say we started Andrew Nembhard at point and they started Fred VanVleet. Does that swing this game?
Yes.
Easy, right?
Yes.
Easily swings this game.
Fred has to go up against Fred going up against our team, and Nembhard is what? How tall is Nembhard?
6'4", 6'4",
So
6'5", I think.
The one is 6'4", and then you have the 6'9" guys, and then you have Yak. Yeah, that's a nightmare for Fred. That's a nightmare matchup for Fred.
Yeah. I'm trying to see, like, how tall is he? I think he's 6'3", 6'4". He is 6'3". He's 23 already. That's interesting. He just turned 23.
Are you like somewhat cynical in like thinking, I hope, this is weird to think out loud, but it's like, what if Barnes and Gary and Achiuwa miss like another game and another game? And it's like it's so obvious.
They were all day-to-day coming into today, so I doubt it. Also, shout-outs to Nembhard Academy. That's kind of funny. Did you know Andrew Nembhard was at Nembhard?
At the same time as Scottie?
No.
Okay.
He's way older than Scottie.
Yeah.
I think 3 years or 4 years before Scottie. 3 years before Scottie. Yeah. So man, that school is just, it's on the map. Cade, Moses, shit. God, who's that other? Caleb Houston. How many NBA players are Nembhard? It's crazy when you think about it. De'Aaron Sharp, Precious Achiuwa, Scottie Barnes. There's so many. Ben Simmons, another Nembhard guy. So many Nembhard players in the NBA. It's crazy. So add Andrew Nembhard to the list.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this team anymore, man.
Well, I'm sorry that you attended this game of all games. But who's your favorite player on the Raptors?
Barnes.
Scottie. Then he didn't play. That
Barnes.
sucks.
Then it's OG. Then it's Jakob. Then it's Gary. Then it's Achiuwa. And then well, actually,
Koloko,
then Dowtin. And then after that, the rest I don't really.
Not a big Koloko guy.
Oh, Koloko, yes.
Yes.
See,
Koloko.
they rarely play to the point where I forget they exist. That's why I forgot Dowtin too. Like they rarely, like why didn't?
Yeah.
It's weird with Nurse. Like he'll give a guy like 4 minutes in the second, and they're just gone.
Yeah.
They're just not to be heard of ever again. I don't understand this. Like.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Anyway, so I mean, if Scottie's your favorite player, like I can only imagine like the game that I went to with Vince, and I get to go. Man, I hope Scottie gets better and then he plays. I'm actually going, I think, to the game on Saturday or Sunday, whoever it's against. I can't remember, but yeah, So I really hope he gets better so that I get to watch him play again. But yeah, it would suck if Scottie was my favorite player and he didn't play. But also like really hoping that he feels better, obviously.
When you were saying how why don't people say the truth and that they just play a better brand of basketball?
Yeah.
I'm actually scared. Like the way Fred plays, do you think you can honestly convince a guy to play the right way and you want to keep him.
He has played the right way. He used to play the right way. He played the right way for years on this team with the bench mob. He didn't do this with the bench mob. I was frustrated he was missing shots in the playoffs. He was still taking good shots.
Yeah. Philly was just a bad matchup in terms of size. Like they started Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler in the backcourt. So that was a series he should have saw basically no minutes in. And they had Tobias Harris. Like it was just insane. And I think they had Ennis in that game, in that series too, that Ennis guy. So like Fred couldn't see the rim. It was just a horrible matchup for him. And if we had OG, if OG didn't have appendicitis, I don't think that series goes 7 if we had OG.
Yeah, I agree. And, honestly, Fred played minutes in that series. Jeremy Lin probably gets a look if it's another coach.
And
you know
honestly,
what I mean? With the way he was shooting?
Yeah, and do you think Nurse does that for Banton? Do you think Nurse does that for Flynn? Do you think Nurse does that?
He would never do that for anybody. Like, honestly,
Nobody.
He came up with this guy. He has loyalty to this guy. He's going to ride with this guy hell or high water. He's
burn
not
it
gonna call
down.
it.
And that's why I say burn it down. Get rid of the 3 Musketeers. Get rid of them.
Yeah.
Get rid of them.
What?
Because the rest of the house is burning, and these guys are pouring water on themselves. That is it.
I feel like Siakam maybe. I mean, if he doesn't come back on a max, could be a part
I just
of
don't
the
like
next
the way
wave.
he is in fourth quarters, Rob. I just don't like the way he is in fourth quarter.
He doesn't need to be the featured guy in a fourth quarter if you give the ball to OG, Scottie, Gary.
Okay, so then we're not going to pay you like you're a fourth quarter guy? We're not going to pay you like the guy? Okay, take less than max. But if you want max and you're going to disappear in every fourth quarter, you can leave because you're not high IQ. You're not a knockdown shooter.
No, that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Look, I
want to
think...
win a championship, and that guy taking a max slot is not helping me win a championship because he's not going to come up clutch. He's not high IQ. He's not a leader.
And he's lost a lot of steps defensively.
Why are you paying him $45 million?
I love the fact that you said he's not clutch twice to make a point. That's funny.
But why am I going to pay him max?
Because that's his market. And unfortunately, if you
because
don't pay him a max...
Because Giants of Africa?
No.
Okay, so why?
Look, man, if you're not going to pay him a max, there's someone out there like a Charlotte or something
that wants him and get something for him.
Yeah, well,
because him and Scottie are compatible. And you want to keep Scottie, right? It's one thing if he was compatible with Scottie and not clutch and not a leader.
If he plays in a way that's so for instance, I was watching somebody. And I was reading a comment on
that I know is going to disappear in the fourth. I can't swallow that. I can't.
And there was a comment, why is Siakam taking so many threes? He needs to go to the paint. And I'm just like, oh, idiotic, right? He does need to take those threes. And so the more he leans into that sort of 3-and-D element, I think he could be a very valuable player for this team. He's a switchable, versatile defender. Those don't grow on trees. He's a guy who can handle the ball for you and create some secondary, creator types. I think it's a matter of asking everyone to be what they're
not.
That's not
30%. Right? That's not 30% of my.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Okay, so let's say for instance, I asked Miles Turner in a disaster season where my entire roster was just injured to be a primary guy, like to create offense.
He'd be horrible.
Exactly, but
we're not paying him max dollars. They're not paying him max dollars.
I mean,
who has more impact in winning, Miles Turner or Pascal Siakam?
They're close.
Okay, so why are we paying him max if he's going to disappear in the fourth? He's not a good shooter.
Because he
overlaps
made 2
way
All-NBA
too much with your potential future star. The overlap is way too much.
He's made 2 All-NBAs, and because he's
and Randall's about to make one too. You want to give him the max?
He's already made one. So that's 2. That's
and he has 2 All-Stars, and he might make one this year. You want to?
He's going to get the max. I think he got the max. Didn't he get the max? Didn't Randall get the max?
He got the old max.
And
it wasn't like 30% max. It's kind of like what Siakam got, and it was understandable, and I was okay with it. And Siakam got that deal. The deal Siakam had now, there was still potential for growth, right?
Yeah, that's
now we know what he is.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Now we know
I agree. Look, I agree that growth is always baked into.
We gave him
Whoa,
that
hold
deal
on.
when he just came off the championship, and that first year he made All NBA second team, and it's like, oh yeah, that made sense. Pay him now before the salary jumps, and we have to pay
Actually,
you even
Julius
more.
Randle did not get a max. I'm
No, he
looking at it
didn't.
now. After the 2021-2022 season, he signed a 4-year, $117 million contract. The deal comes with a player option after the third year, worth over 29 million. That's nowhere close to what
And
Siakam's making.
Rob, here's another thing. Here's another point. If you want to pay Siakam the max, if you don't, and he just left this team, are we really that much worse? Because right now, what we're doing is playing. We're like the 10th, ninth seed. It's like we lose him, and it's like, what are we, bottom feeders? It's not like LeBron leaving Cleveland.
It's not at all.
No, it's not. So I'm not paying him 30% of my salary cap to watch him.
Honestly, it doesn't move anything. He's like, it's a lot of empty calories stuff with Siakam, right? Like he's kind of in the rhythm of the flow, whatever. He's not really doing it. Like the way I look at it is like superstars do two things. They typically score at a rate that is inconsistent with the rest of your roster. Like they're able to generate offense at a higher clip than anyone else. You would be very surprised if you found out that Dylan Brooks was better and more efficient than Ja Morant. You know what I mean? It could be weird. You'd be like, what the fuck is, why are you paying Ja Morant the max then?
Yeah.
They're able to do so with a higher load. So they're able to create that efficiency at a higher load. And then the third thing is them playing that position is supposed to make life easier for other people. So that's 3 boxes that you have to check as a max guy, in my opinion. Siakam doesn't check any of them.
No.
He's 0
The
for 3 on
intangibles.
those.
He doesn't even touch intangibles.
Yeah, there was a lot of narrative earlier when he went out with his first injury against Dallas that the 3-point shooting went off a cliff when he was out. Now, it didn't come back when he came back. So I found that to be somewhat interesting. It's just like, hey, like this is shooting variance, right? You have a hot week, you have cold weeks, right? But the Raptors weren't shooting lights out with him, but they fell off a cliff when he got injured, right? Partially
We won
because
3. Now the schedule is probably easier, but we're 3 games. Like we have a better record without him. Now maybe that's because we played bad teams, but I mean we can't beat bad teams now with Siakam. So
yeah,
I don't know.
the
We're about the
Raptors.
same. We're about the same without him. Because with the defense he was playing, you could argue our defense got better. Like for example, I was reading this one thread that said replace Siakam with Achiuwa. Are
Mhm.
we better or worse? Because I think the defense skyrockets.
Chua's inconsistent.
Yeah, but see,
Um,
the fact that you even have to think that and say, "Oh no, we're definitely a lot worse." The fact that you're not adamant at that, it's like
I mean, okay, so the Raptors are 30 and 33 with Pascal Siakam this year, and they're 5 and 5 without him. Okay, so they're 500 without him, and they are 30 and 33 with him. So the record is not the same with or without him. Um, so let's see here.
but I'm just gonna account for that we played like bottom feeders while he was gone. Let's just say that the
We
difference.
played some, but hold on. While he was out, he wasn't the only guy who was out. There were other guys who were out too, you know?
I'm just saying, for the sake of argument, let's just say we're
Mhm.
about the same.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not giving a guy who I'm not paying you 30% of the salary cap to be the same with or without you. Can't do
Yeah.
it. Can't do it. And like Porzingis, when Porzingis got his deal with the Mavs, he was overpaid. But to me, I could justify it by saying him and Doncic theoretically is a good fit.
Mhm.
Barnes and Pascal theoretically is a horrible fit. In reality, it's a horrible fit. We see it's not working.
The numbers are murky on that. Like they say that they have like these synergy, they pass well to each other, that they defend well together. I don't know. It's a little bit murky, but here are some stats, and I guess we can close out this chat because I don't want to be up until 2 a.m. But these are the Raptors' numbers with Pascal Siakam this season. So,
34.7% 3-point shooting.
Yeah, so 34.7% 3-point shooting, 78% from the line, 5 blocks, and I
24
mean,
free throw attempts. 24
hun-
free throw
and
attempts.
113 points per game, right? 113.3. And if you flip it to, them without him, here are the 10 games without him. So if anyone out there saying they just played lottery teams, well, I mean, let's take a look at who they actually played while he was out. So they won against Chicago, lottery team, won against Houston, lottery team, won against Detroit, lottery team, won against Miami, not a lottery team, and won against Dallas, not a lottery team. So, I mean, come on. Like, I think that's
And the Chicago team is they're about as good as we are, so that counts.
they're still a lottery team right now.
Yeah, but we're a lottery too. So it's two, to quote
You
Charlie,
also lost to
it's
Indiana.
two ugly women fighting.
Sure.
So
I can't believe I just agreed with that. Sorry. I just told you I got a sponsor and a second sponsor. You about to get me canceled. Ugly women fighting. Jeez. Okay.
the
So
great Charles Barkley.
who are you quoting?
The great Charles Barkley.
Oh, jeez. Well,
That's what he calls two bad teams. That's what he calls two bad teams. It's like it doesn't matter who wins because it's two fill in the blank.
Oh, that's funny. Well, when you earn Turner money, or when I earn Turner money, and
Okay.
you or I are as charismatic as Charles Barkley, so we do not get canceled because of how much crazy shit we say on television, then we'll say
Okay,
that.
so 3-point percentage. Can you go to the 3-point percentage for average? What is that?
Hang on. Yeah,
You
hold
have to
on.
scroll to the right.
I'm not sharing my screen. That was a screenshot. Hang on.
Oh,
I'll just
okay.
tell you. The 3-point percentage is 28%.
Whew. Free
It's
throw
bad.
attempts. Free throw attempts. With him was 24.
So without him is 25.
Okay,
And they
one
shoot
more.
slightly better at the line, and they have a better record, and they're scoring 5 points less per game.
We're just strange. Like
22 assists per game without him. How many with him?
But yo, Rob, this is like crazy. I'm checking the stats. I'm pretty sure you went over it. They took 77. We took 12 more shots. Okay.
Yeah, every
12
game.
more shots. We attempted 14 more free throws. We got 5 more offensive rebounds. We turned the ball over 5 less times.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We got 2 more blocks. We still lost the game. Like it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is almost like it's made up. Like it's not real.
Yeah, that's the welcome to my life, man. This is like every game. Every game is like this. Every game they lose, they attempt more shots, they got more offensive rebounds, they got more steals, but they just can't make buckets. And it's like at some
We
point,
shot 34. We shot 13 more threes than they did. 13 more threes. We made 4 less.
That's
They're
crazy.
shooting 55%, or almost 56% from the field, 52 from 3.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
This is
Anyway,
crazy. Like you
yeah,
can't even script this.
yeah, it's hard, man. Anyways, this is a tough loss for the Raptors. I hope they get back on the horse. I think who are they facing next? Detroit?
No, Rob, we don't need to get back on the horse. I told you we need this to be burned to the ground. Do you want to go into next year and watch Fred and Pascal and Nick Nurse
No, I definitely do not.
have
But
secret meetings behind closed doors to make sure that their crew is still alive over the organization?
yo, if this team does not like get into the playoffs, and I don't know, they get to the
I want to be
playoffs and they get
10th and I want to be
swept.
blown out. I want to be 10th and I want to be blown out. So they just stop and we can watch Barnes and we can watch OG and we can watch Coloco. Like how good would we be if the starting lineup was Barnes at the 1,
Mm-hmm.
Gary at the 2, OG at the 3, Achiuwa at the 4, and Pearl at the 5. Spacing is still an issue, but the defense, I think,
I think you'd be about as good as the Indiana Pacers, man. Like I gotta be honest, like you'd be about as good as like people don't understand. Like these guys are not impacting winning. These other two guys that you're adding, they don't impact winning that much. Like a
we'd have a
Barnes,
lot.
like I mean, and I think you would see role players actually getting the ball because OG and Scottie and
Yeah.
like the passing would be infectious because you have four guys.
But don't
Well,
you think? Don't you think
I think Precious would be a
Achua
problem
past
in that.
the All-Star break would happen?
Who knows? Maybe
Achua
I have.
past the All-Star break would show up again?
Who knows, man? Like honestly, I think
You
like
think that guy's dead? You think that Achua died? He's never to return to be seen again?
non-shooters and shooting variants on low volume is a very strange thing, right? Like I mean, sometimes a guy will shoot 39%, but it's like on 2-3 attempts, and you're like, it's pretty low, you know? It's like spitting heads with a coin like 12 times in a row, and you're like, okay, the coin has no tails, but it's too small a sample size. Precious Achiuwa coming off the bench on low volume, shooting 39% should not be taken as like an overriding factor to dispel the year at Memphis, the year at Montverde, this year, the year at Miami. Like he's been a bad shooter throughout. He had not even half a season. It shows me that he's willing to take shots. He's improving, but you know, I think if you're expecting him to shoot 39% again, like maybe not, but it would be crazy to assume that the one part of that season is going to override 4 other years of data, right?
Mhm.
So I think is it reasonable with some work that he can get to 35% on half decent volume? Sure. And I mean that's not bad. That's an efficient
Especially if
shot.
he's getting passes from Scottie and OG and Yak. And
Yeah.
if he knows he's getting his 30 minutes, like
Yo,
I
like
think
I would not, like I think some people really, they struggle with this idea of where are you going to get 25 points, where are you going to get 35
yeah,
points
it's gonna
from, whatever,
happen.
right?
It's gonna happen.
I can tell you, like, there's probably like, let's say that game that team rolls out the one that you're talking about, right? Not only would the defense be pretty beast, right?
Beast.
Yeah, like for sure, like Scottie, Gary, that's not the tightest backcourt in terms
OG
of point of attack defense, but OG, Precious, and
Precious
Jakob.
Yak front court.
Oh
Jeez.
God, yeah, that would be crazy. And so you get those 3 guys. So then you get movement shooters off the bench, whatever you got, like movement shooters, cutters, guys who are over themselves,
Dowtin,
veterans, whatever.
Weezy,
Yeah.
Boucher.
So I think like you might be surprised, but one of those games, OG might have 38. One of those games, uh, I don't know, Scottie might have 40.
Yeah, Weezy
Jakob
could
might
hit 6
have
threes.
40.
Weezy might hit 6
Weezy
threes.
might have 15, 16 points off
Because
the
right
bench.
now OG
But
has
you just need to let it happen. Like if the Indiana Pacers, let's just say the Indiana Pacers had buried Andrew Nembhard, and I told you Andrew Nembhard could have started for this team, and
Yeah.
he could have, put up 25, and he could have put up 30 on the road against the. You'd be like, "Fuck you, bro!" Like he's not doing it, so he can't do it.
25. He could have 25 and 10 assists
Exactly.
on
He could.
11 of
He
17
could.
shooting.
Exactly. That sounds crazy. If I told you guys at the draft that he could have done that, you'd be crazy to believe me.
And Rob, this is why I want those 2 guys gone, because we need to know what we have. We can't even make decisions because we don't know what we have.
I feel like, okay, so here's a sneaky, suspicion of mine. By artificially suppressing the value of a Delano Banton, let's just say he's
them
good.
cheap. You can extend them cheap.
Maybe you could extend him really cheap because no one knows he can play. Like maybe someone out there is wise to you because they're seeing him play in the G League and they're saying, "Hey, this guy's putting up 40
Doesn't
points,
that just
38
build
points."
resentment? Doesn't that have just players building resentment against you?
It happens more often than you think, but yeah, I would be very, very pissed off. But look, the NBA is a business. I find myself saying that at least once every live. You as a team, like Lane brought up earlier, how the Pacers fans were not thrilled about the idea of trading their lone all-star for a scrub like Tyrese Halliburton because they didn't watch Tyrese Halliburton play, right? But Tyrese was still playing.
Yes.
Right? So
and he got to showcase his talent to be able to be traded for an all-star.
Bingo. But the thing is that when you if you look at it from this perspective, let's say you're a team that's really high on Precious Achiuwa. You think you bring this guy in, he can be a 15 to 18 point defensive player of the year type for you, that you can correct this one thing in his game, right? Let's just say you're a rival GM out there, you want to poach him away. Can you justify to your ownership group, to your fan base, to trust in you based on what he's shown so far, to sign him to an $80 million 4-year offer sheet? I don't think you can. I don't think you can sell that to your ownership group. I don't think you can sell that to your fan base. So by artificially suppressing his value, keeping his percentages low, making him, look, it's kind of weird, but it's
4D
true.
chess. 4D chess.
Defense wins championships, correct? But offense gets you paid. Also correct.
Correct.
The numbers on this team are so fucking abysmal. Malachi Flynn, if he hit free agency right now, may not get a 10-day. So that's cap. He may not get like a minimum contract guaranteed. Yeah. Like his pedigree, his whatever is not great. There might be some GM out there who scouted him and during the draft process who wants to give him a second chance. But honestly, after 3 years, and because the Raptors have this sort of impenetrable reputation as a team that's great at developing guys.
No, it's penetrable.
There might, the reputation around the league.
I mean, if they were in a coma for 2 years, sure.
Sure, but people take a while to adjust to new information. So let's just say, for instance, that we still believe that most GMs out there believe that the Raptors front office and the Raptors development core are great at developing. So if Malachi Flynn didn't develop here, and I'm the Orlando Magic or the Indiana Pacers or the Dallas Mavericks, why am I going to think he's going to develop with me? It's a really strange thing, but when you go to a development team and you don't develop, it's kind of like being waived by the Spurs. Like, you don't make it there, there's something wrong with you kind of attitude, right? I mean, you could also look at it differently, which is like every single player the Spurs wave was once a player the Spurs believed in.
And
so
every time that player, a lot of those Spurs players who had real great success in San Antonio, another team overpays them because they just want to poach from the Spurs, and they never work out. It's rare that those kind of players like Bertans or Gary Neal or Matt Bonner or Rasho Nesterovic or whatever. Like, there's so many guys that were great for the Spurs, and then they leave to get a bigger payday, and it just never works.
Okay, so here's an interesting thing. I'm reminded that 5 of my favorite Raptors from the last 6 years are all Spurs. Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, Joe Wieskamp, Thaddeus Young, Jakob Poeltl. All Spurs.
DeMar was it 5 years?
Well, DeMar was a Raptor before he was a Spur.
Yeah,
I'm saying on the Raptors, 5 of my favorite players came from the Spurs. It's very interesting. It's worth thinking about.
And this the development thing you were talking about, I would agree with you, but there was a time where the league spoke so highly of Nick Nurse and like they held him in such high esteem, like he was the next great coach. You know what I mean? They were talking Brad Stevens and Nick Nurse. That talk's gone. That talk's gone.
Well, Brad Stevens not a coach anymore, but I agree.
You know what I mean? Like boy genius type things.
I mean, Nick Nurse is old, man. He's like north of 50.
As in, like, new to head coach.
I understand. Like, but I mean, like now people are talking like that about Will Hardy. Everyone's gonna, and last year people were talking like that about Ime Udoka, right? Like, it just kind of comes and goes.
Nurse could do the job? You think Nurse could do the job Will Hardy's doing if he just had no tie to the players? He had no personal attachments blinding him?
Honestly, yes, I do. And Nick Nurse would be so great for the Utah Jazz because that's exactly the type of team that he's built to coach, which is, a team that doesn't have a star, that has egoless guys, because he's always going to be that way, right?
It sounds like to me, if you get rid of Pascal and Fred, Nurse just becomes a so much better coach because he could be objective.
Maybe. And sometimes you have too many, sometimes there's a theory that you don't want guys to be playing in front of their hometown because there's too many distractions, right? There's too much, sometimes there's too much baggage, there's too much. And sometimes you don't want to, I think you could look at it that way. There's too much history with Nurse and Fred for him to be completely objective. And look, I have never won an NBA championship. I don't know what it's like to be in the foxhole with dudes on the brink of being eliminated and come together and to have drinks and calm each other down. Like the camaraderie that is built through an NBA championship, talk to people who won NBA championships about it. It's crazy. I understand that. And sometimes, you build up that camaraderie and it's hard to check yourself back into reality and just say, shit's changed. this player has changed. I've changed. The team has changed. Their role has changed. So we can't be the same anymore because it's still the same dude. It's kind of like when fans would get really excited about signing Tracy McGrady when he was kind of doing his express tour around the NBA when he was
Yeah.
clinging on for life. They'd be
When he
like,
was on the
"Oh my God, we got
Pistons,
Tracy
the
McGrady,"
Knicks.
and
Yeah.
exactly, and the Spurs, and it's just like that's not Tracy McGrady. He still looks like Tracy McGrady, but it's not the same player. He doesn't do anything the same anymore. It's not the same guy. But you get excited, and I get that. I fully get that. As a young Raptor fan, I got very excited to see a Marc Gasol. Sorry, not Marc Gasol.
Hakeem.
Mark Jackson, Hakeem Olajuwon, come on, because Hakeem Olajuwon still kind of looked like Hakeem Olajuwon. He had those big knee pads, but every once in a while he would block a shot or give you that little dream shake. And you'd be like, "Oh, it's Hakeem, it's Hakeem." It's amazing, but it's not Hakeem. It's still Hakeem, but it's not Hakeem. This is still Fred, but it's not Fred. This is still Pascal. It's not Pascal. Their roles have changed. They've changed. Tampa changed them. The money changes people. Like the age. They're different. Like the roles have changed. Their status in the league, their concept of themselves, what they're aiming for, what they're aspiring to.
Do you know what I heard on? I think it was on a podcast. Yeah, and they were talking about Malachi Flynn and that Tampa year. I think was his rookie year.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, he was being taken to point guard school by Lowry and Fred." Man, I nearly threw up. But
Oh
yeah,
man. Well, I mean, he did have a year under Lowry, which is more than Scottie had, and more than Delano had, and more than that sucks, man. When we drafted Scottie, my first thought was, I really hope we bring back Kyle Lowry because I think he could really use him, and he would really benefit. And now Kyle Lowry's not starting for the Miami Heat. Do you realize that?
yeah, I do.
Gabe Vincent's starting for them. Oh man, yeah. You know what? It would be nice to have him back. Let's sign and trade Fred to Miami for one year of a
Well, what we have,
maxed out Kyle Lowry.
what are the chances we're in a play-in is basically guaranteed, and there's 5 minutes left in the game, and it's a 5-point game. What are the chances of that? Pretty high.
Pretty high. Yeah.
Must see TV. Must see TV.
Oh my God, I'm gonna have an anxiety attack.
Must see TV. Chat. Oh, can't wait for that playing game. 5 minutes left.
I can wait for that. I don't want to see that. I'm scared out of my mind. I mean,
no, I want to see that. So
Scottie
people
takes over. Scottie will be the hero in that moment.
hopefully, if not him, that front office better walk up to that podium with clown makeup on.
Look, I mean, is there a part of you that thinks that playoffs? Okay, so here's how I feel. The playoffs, like a single playoff series, if the Raptors do make the playoffs, I believe can overshadow an entire season.
I agree.
So let's say Scottie comes out and he averages 25 points per game in the playoffs. I think all the, oh my God, he's a superstar stuff is going to come right back.
Okay.
Right? But let's just also say that every single other player on this team also knows that their bad season is only as good as they're only one playoff series away.
Do you think the team, the elder statesman on this team, would just sit back and watch Scottie win them a game in a play-in? Would they be okay?
I hope so, because look,
how are you going to get paid? How are you going to get paid when Scottie saved the day?
Because no one else in the world is paying you to come in and save their franchise, and probably ideally they've got a young player.
They're playing like someone will.
Look, I'm not some NBA agent. I'm not a guru. I'm not anything. I'm just a fan. I'm a fan of this game who covers the game, who knows the game a little bit. And here's what I would say to Fred VanVleet. If you want to get paid by the Orlando Magic or whoever, you feel like you're going to get paid by Dallas Mavericks, whoever has cap space. I don't even know who has cap space right off the top of my head. If you want to get paid, show them that you're willing to take a backseat to Scottie when he comes back. Show them that you are actually willing to do that, because if you're not willing to do it for Scottie, they're going to think you're not going to be willing to do it for Paolo and Franz. And no one is coming after you and signing you up to be their version of Dame Lillard. The league is not stupid. They know you're not Dame Lillard. They can see the offensive numbers. They can see your percentages. So actually, it would be greatly in his benefit if he was the Derek Fisher to, Scottie's Kobe moments, right?
Yeah.
If he could do that, because that will actually get
And
him
Fisher
paid.
has hit many big shots.
Totally.
Big shots.
Hit your shots, do your shit. But if you try to go MJ mode in the playoffs, right, and you fuck up, the consequence is huge, right? Because number one, it's kind of like, it's sort of funny to me. If he goes and let's say he averages like 30 points per game on like 23 shots or something, and then you win, lose, draw, it doesn't matter. But let's just say those are his numbers after a playoff series against the Bucks or something like that, right? Who the fuck is signing up for that?
Nobody.
Exactly. Like if I'm another team, I'm not like, okay, well, that's the type of player you are. Like, yo, bro, Isaiah Thomas was out of the league just 2 years after being an MVP candidate. Like,
What's the difference between that and Terry Rozier?
Exactly. Like, people
and
don't realize.
No one's trying to jump. No one's trying to trade for Terry Rozier.
Right. And I mean, like, look at the Dennis Schroeder thing. It's another bet on yourself example, right? And Dennis Schroeder's a hell of a talent, really talented
He's actually
player.
playing really well for the Lakers off the bench.
Yes. And I mean, you have to look at guys like that and just say, look, you see yourself as a star. No one else does. It's just you. So if you want to say, like, I'm a star, you're closing your market down, and it's actually just really bad business sense to do that.
Yep.
If you market yourself as a secondary creator, you could extend your career so far. If you market yourself as a guy who's willing to eventually, if this contract, if things don't work out, come off the bench and be like a really good player off the bench, you actually could get a 22, 23, $25 million contract. But no, you're going to go maximize the bag because,
Rob,
and the only way,
16 point per game guy off the bench, he could be 16 points per game, 5 assists, like 5 rebounds, 2 steals, shoot 40% from 3, play great defense, and still get like 28 minutes a night.
Sure.
Off the bench and win 6th man of the year.
Exactly. But like, I'm looking at it like from the perspective of, like, you consider like Jerome James, how he got paid for that one big series he had, right? Why?
The Sonics. Yeah,
because people looked at the series he had in the playoffs, complete outlier, and they said, wow, like, I mean, well, not people, the Knicks. Oh, the Knicks. And they said, we could really use what he just did, right? People are always going to do that. People don't have a great imagination. They're not looking at a guy who's coming off the bench for 4 minutes a night and immediately translating, this guy's going to play 35 minutes for me next year in a completely different role. That's hard to do. That type of thinking is hard to do, and a lot of GMs don't practice it. Daryl Morey has this great quote. He says, for most teams that are good to function, 7 teams have to be doing the wrong thing, right? And yeah, like, you might get one of those teams that are doing the wrong things, like the Houston Rockets, Detroit Pistons, or the Orlando Magic, I guess. If they're interested in Fred, they're definitely doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But you might actually go into free agency, and that offer from the Orlando Magic, based on how Markelle Fultz is playing, that might just not be there anymore.
No.
Now what?
OG's offer went down. Siakam's offer is going down. And now they know you're desperate because your triple down on this core didn't work. So why would they do you any favors? I'd just be like, okay, keep it. Run that back. If you like it so much. Run it back. Or take this. Or kick rocks.
I would be very interested to know what the competing offers are. I wouldn't be surprised if someone was willing to, like, risk it all for OG, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if someone's willing to sign him for $32-33 million or some crazy shit like that. But these other guys, like, I'll be very curious to see what the competing offers are. Now, I just told you about Bosch having an offer from, I think he had an offer from Chicago that year. I definitely know he had an offer from, I think, New York. Was it New York? Was that the year that they got Amari? I think it was Bosch.
Yes, it was the year they got Amari.
And then, of course, Miami and Houston, and probably there was another team involved as well. So there was quite a few teams that had cap space that year. So we know that those teams were willing to offer Chris Bosh, like, money. Let's see who's willing to offer Pascal Siakam and Fred VanVleet money.
That would be interesting to find out.
Because look, they're seeing the same numbers I am. I promise you, NBA GMs think more in alignment with what I'm saying than what casual Raptor fans are saying. That's not
For
me being like an
facts.
arrogant asshole, but like
Facts.
it's just true. And I know that because I've talked to a few of them.
And
Not recently, but I have talked to
I used to
general
watch,
managers and scouts.
and I used to watch like Marcus Gasol. His stats weren't great. Like his numbers were never shiny, right?
No, they weren't.
But you'd watch him play, and I remember watching him like 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and I'm like, this guy's one of the most mistake-free players I've ever seen. Like he's so
great.
smart. I'm like, I want that guy on my team, even if he just scores 16 points. I want that guy on my team.
Couldn't you say like some of the same stuff about Fred in terms of limiting turnovers, taking really good shots, etc.?
Yeah, but his turnovers are like, I'm gonna hold the ball until it's safe to pass. It's a lot of risk averse. It's like, I don't know.
He is a very risk averse player. I agree. And you know, some of the passes that Scottie attempts, like there's just not passes Fred attempts. And you know, look tonight. He attempted that really quick pass,
Mhm.
and it got picked off. Do you remember it by TJ McConnell? He tried it in transition and it got picked off. And I was like, yo,
I
that's
think
the same pass that Scottie tries to make all the time. That quick up the court,
Yeah.
and he can't make it. He
I
can't
think
make it because
Fred's
he
low
doesn't see it.
turnovers. Fred's low turnovers are a bit fool's gold to me. They're a bit fool's gold, especially
They
since
are.
he holds onto the ball so long, right?
It's kind of like Jose Calderon, man. Fred VanVleet is it's Jose Calderon with better defense in so many ways.
Yeah.
Pounds the rock, and he's just the difference
It's like,
is
I didn't turn the ball
Jose.
over. Yeah, you held the ball
Jose
for
is
20 seconds. How could you?
yeah, like the difference is Jose was one of the most likable people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he was. He was.
He was so insanely humble. I remember his rookie season when Rob Babcock brought him in, and Jose Manuel Calderon.
Mhm,
And I remember he was playing for, I can't remember who he was playing for in Europe. Anyways, when he was a rookie, he would like always get people water, and he was an older rookie, dude. He was like 25 years old, I think,
Yeah.
as a rookie, and you know he had serious experience overseas.
do
He
you
was playing
remember
for
where he went?
Tau Keramika. I hope I'm saying that correctly.
Do you remember where he went after the Raptors? His first stint after Toronto.
Pistons.
Okay, I had two friends that were in Detroit, and they went to a Pistons game, and they saw Jose at like a restaurant in Detroit,
Mhm.
and they told him, hey Jose, we're from Toronto, and he was like, he spoke to them for like 30 minutes because that's how much he loves Toronto. Like they told me when they said they're from Toronto, his eyes lit up.
Yes, and he's such a so there's this filmmaker Laura Lemus who we selected for Pendants last year, and she's a director and she's incredible, and she has this very authentic way of speaking, and it's almost like she feels so much when she's talking. Like it's everything's from the heart. Everything comes from the heart. Even do you want coffee, Robert, is from the heart. Jose Calderon is the same type of person. He is just such a good, generous teammate. Like he genuinely is the best teammate. Like I remember having a friend on the team at the time, and he said, just honestly, the best dude ever. He never disrupts your process. He's always collaborative. He always wants to hear what he can do better. He has absolutely zero ego. And this is like an Olympic athlete. He is his resume is incredible. And starting point guard in the NBA, like his humility is very touching.
He had two point guard battles, one with TJ4, and then the next one was with Kyle Lowry.
Yep.
So yeah, he was a part of a couple.
I mean, to be honest, he won both. He won both. Kyle was coming off the bench, after, because initially Kyle got the start, and then, Kyle got injured, I think, and then Jose started starting over him, and then came back. He was coming off the bench.
I remember Jose, he was money from like the elbow. He'd get the screen, and then he'd just pull up from the elbow. If the big just sagged a little bit, man, he was money.
It's crazy to me how the similarities between Jose and Fred are pretty stark. I think he was a better passer. I think he was a better passer for the most part, and I think he was a much worse defender. So I think that's kind of
clearly. Yeah.
But they're both undrafted guys. There you go. The history
Jose
of
had such big feet. Like
he did have such big feet.
Yeah, from below his knees, he just had a stump.
Yeah, it was weird.
It's like, yeah, this guy cannot move. Like, he actually genetically cannot move laterally as fast as he needs to move. Like, he can't.
Yeah, you're right. Smaller feet do help. Yeah. Anyway, Coach Mo, we're over 3 hours,
Yeah.
but really good chat. Sorry I didn't get to see Scottie Barnes live. Hope you'll get to see him next time. Thanks for taking the kids, and yeah.
Yep.
All right. Cheers, man. Have a good night. All right. So that's it for us. We've dwindled down our numbers from 250 at the peak to 142 of you. Thank you for staying up with us. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, man, I'm excited about this channel. I apologize for the slight deviation into the negative. This is not negative. I think this is being real. I honestly do. I think this is just telling it how it is. I think this is a very winnable game. I don't appreciate, Nick Nurse and Fred VanVleet and all these guys bigging up this team that they just lost to at home. That's clipping at their heels. I don't appreciate listening to these people talk about this team like they're just some behemoth that just was unstoppable. It was very stoppable. You stopped yourself. You beat yourself today, and I think, it needs to be addressed that far too often this season, Fred VanVleet has been the catalyst for that happening. Over and over and over. Low light after low light after low light. Do I have the patience to make another low light? No, I don't. I don't feel like, I don't know how that helps this team. But I don't know how him doing this helps this team either. And my biggest fear right now, and I'll share this with you, is that we get into a play-in situation, one game, do or die, and he does this, right? I do not want to see that because, a lot of people make a team work. A lot of people. It's not just one guy, two guys, no matter how much, the Raptors media want to present this team like two guys in scrubs. It's not two guys in scrubs. It's really probably closer to 8, 9 guys in scrubs, right? Or 10 guys in scrubs. And I think that in order to be fair to the other 9 guys who are working so hard, you need to be able to share the basketball. Yesterday I talked in a live stream, which was one of my favorite live streams, by the way, yesterday's, and the day before, about trusting the process, trusting your teammates. And I think that's something that Jakob Poeltl does really well. And I was really hoping that him doing that so well, even though tonight he did it really well, would rub off on Fred and Pascal. In a lot of ways, Jakob and Thaddeus Young can be sort of connecting tissue between the youth and Fred and Pascal in so many ways, right? They can be a bridge to bridge the divide between ISO ball, hero ball, and team first basketball. I don't know a single basketball player who wants to win, who wants to play this way. It's not conducive to winning. And tonight you saw a team come into your building on the road. They're not a very good team, but they play a very good brand of basketball. You watch the Indiana Pacers play. Really, go to one of your streaming sites or whatever, wherever you watch games, and go break down any single play that the Pacers ran tonight and find how many options they generated on that play. It's incredible. Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Hit the sub up on the way out. And if you haven't hit like, there's 136 people still in here. I guarantee you this video doesn't have 136 likes. If all of you just hit like on your way out, it would make all the difference. So please do so. It's free. It's free to do. All right. Cheers. Have a good one, guys. Take care.